Chapter 1249 that didn't look like a proper weapon. In the arena, one was standing and one was on the ground. They formed a stark contrast. But the person on the ground wasn't Wang Teng, whom everyone expected. It was Hu Qia. Everyone was flabbergasted. Cough, cough. Hu Qia suddenly moved and struggled to climb up from the ground. There were traces of blood at the edge of his lips. Only a few seconds had passed since he was thrown to the ground. He had regained his senses. Look, Hu Qia is up again. He hasn't lost. Does he still have a chance? But he got thrown off his feet with a single punch. The difference in ability is too wide. Who knows? What if Major Wang Ting only has a powerful punch? Everyone regained their composure and started discussing upon seeing Hu Qia stand up. Because of Wang Ting's sudden outburst of power, this competition became full of suspense. Everyone was filled with excitement too. Hu Qia stumbled as he tried to get up. There were some burnt marks on his body and an obvious fist mark on his chest. He looked down at the fist mark in astonishment. Then, he raised his head and looked at Wang Ting. Why are you so strong? Really? I only use a third of my strength, Wang Ting replied calmly. Hu Qia. Was he acting? He threw him back with only a third of his strength. What did that make him? General Cameron was speechless. This young man was powerful but a little boastful as well. He wasn't mature enough. Was he saying that he defeated a Cosmos stage martial warrior with only a third of his strength? It didn't matter if others believed him. He didn't. But I'm surprised that you can still get up. Wang Teng looked at Hu Qia with interest. These were his honest thoughts. He had used 2 physiques just now, but he only managed to throw Hu Qia off his feet. He wasn't defeated. This meant that Hu Qia's physique was powerful. Hu Qia's face turned black when he heard his words. Look at what he was saying. He was being looked down upon by a celestial stage martial warrior. This was infuriating. He took a deep breath to calm down. Then, he spoke in a low voice, I've put you in a high position, yet I still underestimated you. However, if you think this is all I have, you're wrong. Boom. The instant he finished speaking, the aura around his body surged, and a frightening yellow force erupted. Boom. The yellow force shot out from his body. It was thick and bulky. From a distance, Hu Qia looked as if he was standing inside a mountain. Then, as the force flowed out, Hu Qia's eyes started to give off a yellow glow too. Wisps of wild beast aura streamed out from his body. At the same time, the yellow force started changing. It quickly gathered to form the outline of a giant elephant. The elephant looked extremely real. It gave off a barbarous and savage aura as if it had traveled here from prehistoric times. Wang Teng frowned. He shouldn't underestimate Hu Qia. Although he was at the 7th level of the Cosmos stage, his aura was as powerful as Dragon 14. Even though the savage elephant form seemed to exhaust his energy, the battle power it released was terrifying. A normal martial warrior at the peak of the Cosmos stage might lose in front of him. What a terrifying aura. Peggy and the others, who were watching the match, started to get nervous. This is the real power of the savage elephant form. Will Wang Teng be able to beat him? Di said gravely. Even he felt threatened by this aura. The opponent was very powerful. You should be proud even if you lose because you forced me to release the full potential of my savage elephant form. Hu Qia stood within the outline of the elephant. His voice echoed in the air. Bang! The elephant shadow around Hu Qia gave an ear-shattering roar and stomped its feet. It charged at Wang Ting. Wang Ting shook his head and smiled calmly. There was no fear in his expression. Let's play with you. He turned into a green ray of light and shot toward Hu Qia. Flames surrounded him. Boom, boom, boom. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Both of them hurled punches at each other. One was as tall as a giant while the other was the height of a normal man. The difference was obvious when they stood together. However, these 2 people were on par in strength, and they were using such a simple and brutal method to fight. A thunderous explosion occurred in the arena. Waves of force fluctuation swept through the air as the eruption resounded in the sky. This aggressive collision startled many of the onlookers. They were so fierce. This duel was brutal. But they had to admit that they were all heated up watching this fight. Their emotions were aroused following the exchanges of blows. Everyone's pupils moved according to the positions of the two figures. No one dared to blink. They were afraid of missing any part of this battle. It was rare to see such a fascinating battle. After releasing the full potential of his savage elephant form, Huaqia's power rose tremendously, especially his strength. He had become almost indomitable. However, he soon realized that Wang Ting managed to keep up in strength. Was he speaking the truth earlier? Did he honestly use only a third of his strength just now? An absurd thought floated into Huaqia's mind. He was appalled and couldn't control his emotions. The others were also dumbstruck when they noticed this situation. They thought that Huaqia would at least gain some advantage after executing the savage elephant form even if he couldn't suppress Wang Ting. Yet, the situation took an unexpected turn. Wang Ting's ability exceeded all their expectations. Boom! Huaqia and Wang Ting exchanged a punch and separated quickly at the speed of lightning. They flew back for more than 10 meters. Huaqia turned grim. He clenched his fist, and a giant battle mace appeared on his humongous palm. He was 15 feet tall, so his palm was the size of a fan. Yet, the battle mace didn't look small in it. It seemed to be customized for him. Huaqia waved his hand, and the battle mace swung through the air. A loud sonic boom was heard. It almost deafened the crowd. Wang Ting was stunned when he saw the giant mace. This is against the rules. If he got hit with that enormous mace, he would turn into minced meat. Wang Ting looked through his weapons. There was nothing bigger than the mace in his collection. Wait. I think I found something. The next instant, a brick appeared in his hand. No, it was a square seal. It had been gathering dust for a while, so it was about time to take it out for a cleanup. The people below were staggered when they saw the ordinary-looking square seal. This weapon was a little strange. Was Wang Ting planning to use this small square seal to fight Huaqia's giant mace? Everyone's expression turned strange. Even Huaqia was stunned. He sized up the seal in confusion. Could this weapon injure people? It wasn't even as big as his palm. However, it did look a little scary as there were occult purple patterns on it. It was neither fish nor fowl. It didn't look like a brick, but it didn't look like a seal either. It didn't look like a proper weapon. General Cameron's expression changed. He recognized the weapon. This was the seal Wang Ting used to resist the lightning calamity. This wasn't an ordinary seal. Regardless of what everyone thought, Wang Ting lifted the seal and released his spiritual power. Boom! The lightning slap flew into the sky like a bolt of purple lightning and struck down on Huaqia. Everyone shook their heads. The square seal was like a toy compared to Huaqia's large body. It couldn't even bruise him. Huaqia remained indifferent. He stared at the normal palm-sized square seal calmly as it flew toward him. He swung his giant mace down. Clang! The giant mace smashed onto the square seal, giving off a loud metallic sound. He seemed to have stopped the square seal, but there was a change in Huaqia's expression. Chapter 1250. Can you give me a chance to surrender? 1. Huaqia's eyes turned round as if he had seen something unbelievable. Boom! The square seal, which was originally palm-sized, started to release dazzling purple lightning. Beneath the lightning, the square seal grew larger at a visible speed. Within a split second, it became bigger than Huaqia's mace. This time, it wasn't Huaqia who had a change in his expression. The onlookers were astounded too. F***K. The square seal can grow bigger. Wang Ting's weapon isn't right. Sir, is he cheating? The generals didn't know what to say after hearing the discussions. They were experienced people, but the majority of them had never seen a weapon that could expand or shrink at will. They were all stunned. Especially General Cameron. He only knew that the square seal had lightning power, but it looked like there was more to it. Have you seen this weapon before? General Chi Yuanju asked after some hesitation. No, I've never seen anything like it. General Yukeri shook his head. I've seen one in the past, A muscular female martial warrior paused for a moment before replying. Oh, General Kimberly, you've seen it before? Everyone looked at her in surprise. Quick, tell us more. I've seen something similar. It was the weapon of a divine spirit master. I was lucky to see it when I was traveling around the universe in the past. His weapon was a small mountain that turned into a real mountain when he attacked. No, it was bigger than a real mountain. It could crush a small planet. I was appalled when I saw it at that time. General Kimberly recalled. That means that Wang Ting is a divine spirit master. General Qi Yuanju caught the crux of the issue. He was astounded. When Wang Ting attacked, they thought that he threw the seal out with his force. After General Kimberly's explanation, they started to think otherwise. Yes, he's a divine spirit master. He has reached the celestial realm. General Cameron looked through Wang Ting's information and nodded. Gasp! A celestial realm divine spirit master? That's the same as a cosmos stage martial warrior. What's more, his physical body is powerful. Huichia is in danger. General Yukeri gasped and said solemnly. The others agreed with him. The lightning slap was already a few hundred times bigger than it was at the start. It was twice as large as Huichia's giant mace, and the purple patterns shone brightly. Sparks of lightning could be seen dancing within. What do you think? Is my baby big? Wang Ting looked at Huichia and smiled proudly. Silence. There was an abrupt moment of silence. What was he saying? They felt that there was a different meaning behind Wang Ting's words. It sounded a little inappropriate. The men wore strange expressions on their faces as if they heard something familiar. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. The ladies blushed and clicked their tongues. They were familiar with these words too. Cough, this young man is ill-mannered. We need to educate him, General Cameron coughed awkwardly and said. Yes, we need to educate him, General Qi Yuanju agreed with a weird expression. He's still young. It's understandable, General Kimberly laughed heartily with her loud voice. Huichia didn't feel good after hearing this sentence. A layer of goosebumps appeared above his bulging muscles. What kind of strange experience was this? Why was a man asking him if his baby was big? He felt that he had just suffered the worst humiliation in the world. Move! Huichia shouted as he widened his eyes in anger. He lifted his giant mace and threw it out. Bang, bang, bang. Loud explosions were heard. The large mace clashed with the oversized lightning slap. Fierce. Looks like it isn't big enough. I will let you admit that mine is bigger than yours. What's more, it's much bigger. Wang Ting frowned. Silence. Everyone felt speechless. What kind of obsession was this? Wang Ting didn't know that everyone's thoughts were running wild. He released his spiritual power, and the purple glow blossomed on the lightning slap. It expanded again until it was the size of a small metal hill. It hung over Huichia's head. Gulp. The people below swallowed their saliva unconsciously when they saw the terrifying metal hill. What the F***K? What the hell was this? They could still accept the size of it before, but this current size was beyond their imagination. How could a palm-sized square seal turn into a mountain? This didn't make sense. Even a Grandmaster-level weapon didn't have this ability. The generals turned to look at General Kimberly. They remembered her description. It was similar. Right, this is it. General Kimberly nodded. Huichia looked up and squinted. He felt like cursing. This fellow was a bug. Go. Wang Ting pressed his hand down, and the lightning slap hurled down at Huichia. The sound of wind echoed in the air. The air was compressed until sonic booms were heard. Boom. Huichia's expression changed entirely when he saw the enormous seal. He hurriedly released his strength of Ultima and instilled it into his giant mace. Chapter 1251. Can you give me a chance to surrender? 2. Endless strength surged out of his body and congregated around his giant mace. Boom. As the immense energy poured into the giant mace, a shadow started forming around it. Terrifying fluctuations were felt and spread out from within. Savage elephant mace. The yellow glow in Huichia's eyes shone brighter. They were like two lanterns. The ancient and barbaric aura around him grew intense, and an infuriated bellow escaped from his throat. Boom, boom, boom. He stomped his feet on the ground and shot into the sky like a beam of light, heading straight for the lightning slap. Bang! The shadow of the elephant around him raised its head and bellowed into the sky. Then, it flung itself at the lightning slap, pressing down on it. Oh! Wang Teng exclaimed. He felt a familiar Ultima fluctuation from Huqiya's attack. He released his own strength of Ultima and instilled it into the lightning slap along with his spiritual power. Boundless spiritual power seeped into the lightning slap. It grew quickly in size and gave off a glaring purple glow. It plummeted from the sky. Boom! The purple and yellow beams of light were both swift and violent. They collided like two meteorites within a split second. A powerful and rampant force fluctuation swept out from the center of the collision. The floor of the arena cracked under its powerful force. Lines as thick as an arm were seen. Mind you, the ground of this arena was made from a special stone. There were even strengthening runes carved into it, so it was extremely tough and sturdy. Yet, it cracked from the collision of these two martial warriors. One could imagine how terrifying the impact was. Even the protective shield started trembling violently. Tiny lines appeared, and there was a cracking sound. It was about to break at any moment. Oh shit! Everyone's expression changed. General Cameron hurriedly waved his hand and a powerful force fluctuation flowed out from his body. It merged into the defense shield. If this defense shield broke, the residual force inside would injure many onlookers. Following the addition of General Cameron's force, the cracks on the defense shield gradually disappeared, and it stabilized. He was a universe-stage martial warrior. No matter how powerful Wang Teng and Huqiya's attacks were, they couldn't injure a universe-stage formidable warrior. Huqiya wore a stern expression, and his face was a little pale. He felt the frightening energy compressed within the square seal clearly during that exchange of blows. It felt like a real mountain pressing down on him. Even if he executed his savage elephant form, his bones still made a cracking sound. Interesting, he managed to resist it. A strange glow flashed past Wang Teng's eyes. Spiritual power surged out and went into the lightning slap. Boom! The purple light shone brightly again, along with bolts of lightning. Boom! Huqiya noticed something amiss, but it was too late. The lightning struck him using his giant mace as its medium. Calamity lightning. The power of the calamity lightning was hidden within the lightning slap. Since he couldn't win by strength, Wang Teng decided to add some other ingredients. The calamity lightning was the real trump card of the lightning slap. Huqiya might have a powerful physique, but he still trembled violently as if he was having a seizure when he got struck by the calamity lightning. A burnt smell came from his body, and his hair stood on end. His huge face, which had grown bigger when he enlarged himself, had turned entirely black. Puff! A wisp of black smoke came out from his mouth. At the same time, the savage elephant form couldn't withstand the pressure anymore and collapsed with an unwilling loud roar. Boom! The lightning slap fell on Huqiya, pressing him onto the floor of the arena. The entire arena trembled. The tremor even escaped the defense shield and caused the ground outside to shake. Everyone took some effort to stabilize themselves before they saw the situation in the arena. The square seal landed right in the arena, leaving no gap between it and the floor. There was no sign of Huqiya. Gulp! Someone swallowed his saliva uncontrollably. Did he get crushed? Wang Teng stood in the air and pulled his hand back. The lightning slap shrunk and landed on his palm. Everyone finally saw what was below the square seal. There was a human-sized hole in the middle of the arena. Huqiya was etched inside. He looked miserable. Gasp! There was an uproar. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks Major Wang Teng. 1. Everyone stared at this scene in a daze. It felt like a dream. Huqiya, who was a 7th-level Cosmos Stage martial warrior, was defeated. Moreover, he got defeated by a Celestial Stage martial warrior. This was unbelievable. Everyone looked at Wang Teng in astonishment. They couldn't calm down. Suddenly, Huqiya moved. He was trying to crawl out. Huh! He can still move. Wang Teng was surprised. Martial warriors who trained their physique were indeed different. Huaqia's body was amazing. He could still crawl at this stage. Wang Teng wouldn't allow him to crawl up. He moved and appeared beside him. When he crawled up just a little, he slammed the lightning slap on the back of Huaqia's head. Bang, bang, bang. Dull thuds resounded in the arena. Huaqia wanted to crawl up and surrender. He recognized the difference between him and Wang Teng and knew that he had no chance of winning. But before he could open his mouth, he was hit in the back of his head. He could hear a ringing in his mind. His vision turned black, and his head turned numb. This was the power of lightning. F***K, you can hit my head, but why do you have to use lightning? That's vicious. He knew that this was Wang Teng's doing without thinking. This fellow was brutal. He wanted to raise his hand and surrender, but Wang Teng didn't give him any chances. He kept beating his head as if he wouldn't stop until he fainted. Huaqia couldn't speak. He had never felt so frustrated. He felt his head swelling. Based on the strength of his physical body, this shouldn't happen. But he couldn't resist. His only hope was the generals. He wished they would realize his situation quickly and stop this devil. Bang, bang, bang. Boom tilde, do you admit defeat? Wang Teng asked while he hit him. Bang, bang, bang. Boom tilde. Huaqia raised his trembling hand. What? You don't want to surrender? Wang Teng was shocked. Bang, bang, bang. Boom tilde. Huaqia clenched his fist. Are you still trying to hit me? Wang Teng was surprised. He respected the other party's toughness. Bang, bang, bang. Boom tilde. The dull thuds were accompanied by the crackling of the lightning. It resounded in the arena, making the onlookers flinch. Some felt their hearts skipping a beat. This young man was vicious. What's more, he didn't show any signs of releasing his opponent because he asked as he hit him. They automatically placed Wang Ting on their list of people they shouldn't offend. Look at how smooth his actions were. He must be experienced. They couldn't afford to provoke him. They couldn't. Huaqia was going crazy. His consciousness was getting blurry and he couldn't move his mouth. There was only one thought in his mind. Wang Ting, go to hell. Can you give me a chance to surrender? General Cameron couldn't bear to see this any longer and removed the protective shield. He coughed and said, Major Wang Ting, stop beating him. You won. I won. Wang Ting stopped and asked. Yes, you've won. Stop hitting him. General Cameron glanced at Huaqia and nodded profusely. He was an unbearable sight. But he hasn't admitted defeat. Wang Ting hesitated. He weighed the lightning slap in his hand. Don't. Well, surrender for him. General Cameron hurriedly stopped him when he noticed he wanted to continue. His tone was firm. Yes, well, make the decision for him. General Chi Yuanju agreed. They mustn't continue to fight. That's right. We have a good understanding of your ability now. There's no need to continue fighting. General Kimberly wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. You should have said so earlier. My hands are sore. Wang Teng kept his lightning slap. General Cameron. General Chi Yuanju. General Kimberly. This fellow was a little irritating. Chapter 1252. He felt troubled that he was a genius. The battle ended in an unexpected manner. Huaqia was carried out of the arena. No man could withstand this suffering, no matter how tough they were. He started doubting his life. When he was carried down, Huaqia used all his energy to open his eyes and looked at Wang Ting, who was standing in the limelight. You're inhumane. You're vicious. Wang Teng was surrounded by the generals when he suddenly felt a bitter gaze landing on him. He turned around involuntarily. Good riddance. Did he beat him up so badly? He was too focused on hitting him and didn't notice his strength. He almost couldn't recognize Huaqia from his swollen face. Wang Teng felt apologetic. The corners of their lips twitched when the generals saw Huaqia. They wondered if he regretted participating in this fight. Wang Teng took the chance when everyone was distracted by Huaqia to collect the attribute bubbles around him. Constellation Force, Earth, *2500 Strength of Ultima *1200 Savage Elephant Form *600 Savage Elephant Mace *900 Constellation Force, Earth, *2200 Imperial Level Earth Talent *3000 Celestial Realm Spirit *600 Cosmos Realm Enlightenment *1200 Wang Teng's eyes glimmered. He felt delighted. Hua Qia was an Earth Element martial warrior, so naturally, he dropped Constellation Earth Force attributes. There were 11,000 points of it. Wang Teng's Celestial Realm Earth Force was stuck at the bottleneck of the 7th level of the Celestial stage, so this addition helped him achieve his breakthrough. Constellation Earth Force, 5,380,000, Celestial Stage 8th level, the 8th level. This was a small surprise. Next, there was the Strength of Ultima. Wang Teng's Strength of Ultima rose very slowly because not many people had it. Thus, he didn't have attribute bubbles to pick. This time, Hua Qia had provided him with a good sum. There were 4,300 points. Wang Teng's Strength of Ultima rose by a level. Strength of Ultima, 806,000, 6th level. Enlightenment of the Strength of Ultima flashed through his mind, sending ripples to his heart. The image of an elephant appeared in his mind. Wang Teng felt as if he had become a giant. He possessed the indomitable power to pluck stars and destroy moons. In that instant, his eyes were sparkling with a strange light. After some time, he let out a soft sigh. A smile crept up his face. His Strength of Ultima just broke through to the 5th level not long ago, but now, his understanding of it had deepened again. His luck was not bad. After the enlightenment of the Strength of Ultima, another memory appeared in Wang Ting's mind. This was regarding the savage elephant form. Wang Ting turned into an ancient wild elephant. He was gigantic in size and could almost touch the sky. The giant elephant galloped on the ground. It bumped into mountains to harden its skin and swam through floodwaters to train its body. It continued to do this day after day, year after year. Its body grew bigger and indomitable. It raised its head as it stood on the barren ground and trumpeted into the sky. The shadow of an elephant flashed past Wang Ting's eyes. He had a brief grasp of the savage elephant form and was at the foundation stage. Savage elephant form, 601,000, foundation. What startled him was, this savage elephant form was a physique training skill that could go all the way up to the universe stage. After practicing it, his body would become as tough and formidable as the ancient elephant. This also meant that the attribute was harder to raise. Just the foundation stage alone required 1,000 points. The 600 points he received from Hua Qia weren't enough for a breakthrough. But Wang Ting didn't care. The savage elephant form was the icing on the cake. He possessed the ancient god's body, which was a stronger physique training skill compared to the savage elephant form. Of course, if he mastered this skill, there would be an additive effect and Wang Teng's physique would be even stronger. Looks like Hua Qia only reached the small achievement stage of this savage elephant form. If he were at the big achievement, I wouldn't have been able to break his defense without using an ultimate skill. Wang Ting touched his chin as he wondered to himself. Soon, another round of enlightenment swarmed in. Savage Elephant Mace. This was the mace battle technique Hua Qia executed some time ago. With his Strength of Ultima, he was able to resist the lightning slap controlled using spiritual power. Mind you, Wang Ting's spiritual power was at the peak of the celestial realm. This meant that he had the battle power of a martial warrior at the peak of the cosmos stage. Yet, even when he used it on a powerful weapon like the lightning slap, Hua Qia managed to withstand it. This proved how extraordinary the savage elephant mace was. Wang Ting finally understood the reason after going through the information about this battle skill. The savage elephant mace was an Ultima battle technique too. One needed to possess the Strength of Ultima to execute this Ultima technique. Wang Teng was elated. This was the second Ultima battle technique he received and it required the Strength of Ultima. This was rarer than a normal Ultima battle technique. This was a huge gain. Savage Elephant Mace, 101,000, specialized, 900 points of this attribute raised the Savage Elephant Mace to the specialized stage. The points required to advance were the same as the Roaring Flame Lion Spear. Looking at how powerful this battle technique was, He would be able to kill a Cosmos stage martial warrior with it. Lastly, there were 3,000 points of Imperial-level Earth talent, 2,400 points of Celestial Realm Spirit, and 36,000 points of Cosmos Realm Enlightenment. Huaqia's Earth talent wasn't weak. No wonder he was so powerful. Wang Teng's Earth talent was also at the Imperial level, so this gain increased his ability greatly. His Spirit and Enlightenment increased slightly too. Overall, the gains were sizable. It was worth his effort. Wang Teng collected the attribute bubbles while General Cameron comforted the tragic-looking Huaqia. Then, Huaqia was sent to the medical center. Major Wang Teng, you've offended Huaqia terribly this time. He's the deputy regimental commander of the Tiger Strike Force and is extremely familiar with it. You'll need his help in the future, General Cameron walked over and said in a meaningful tone. He won't use his influence for a private grudge, right? Wang Teng felt a little guilty. He said in embarrassment, he should have surrendered earlier. It's not my fault. Why are you still pushing the blame? General Cameron rolled his eyes uncontrollably. All right, this is your own matter. You'll be the commander of the Tiger Strike Force from now on. You can deal with this however you see fit. So, I'm the commander of the Tiger Strike Force now? Wang Teng asked. Yes. Your appointment letter will be sent to you soon. Remember to open it. General Cameron nodded. Yes. Wang Teng nodded. At this moment, General Qi Yuanju and the other generals gathered over and introduced themselves. Wang Teng was stunned. These were people with real power on the number 29 defense planet. Major Wang Teng is young and promising. You surprised me with your ability, General Qi Yuanju commented with a smile. You're speaking too highly of me. I was just lucky to be able to defeat Huaqia. Wang Teng looked at his rank and knew that this was a major general. Hence, he treated him politely and replied in a humble tone. Ha ha ha, that was not what you said just now, Qi Yuanju teased him. Cough, I was a little quick and thoughtless in my speech. Wang Teng coughed awkwardly. But this is the first time I saw a celestial stage martial warrior possessing such abilities, General Yukeri smiled and exclaimed. Actually, a talent like Major Wang Ting should seek a wider stage in the universe and not risk his life on our life planet, General Kimberly said. The defense planet is a training for me too. My ability increased after spending time here, Wang Teng replied. He was speaking the truth, but the generals didn't believe him. They felt that he was just being polite because they knew he had only been on the planet for a few days. How could his ability increase so easily? Was this a game? That's not right. The military places a huge emphasis on the grooming and development of talents. A genius like you will not be buried, General Cameron said. The League of Talents is happening soon. I'll send an application for Major Wang Teng to represent our military. The League of Talents. Wang Teng was staggered. He didn't expect to hear about this competition from General Cameron. He originally planned to participate in this competition, but if he could represent the military, he would be able to get more benefits. With your ability, you will be able to get a good ranking for this League of Talents. General Qi Yuanju's eyes lit up. He nodded in approval and said, Count me in. I'll support your decision. Ha ha ha, let's send the application together then. General Yukeri smiled. General Cameron glanced at them speechlessly. A bunch of sly old foxes. He knew what they were thinking. His recommendation was enough to get the approval for Wang Ting to become the military's representative. Their participation wasn't necessary. But they wouldn't give up this good chance to display their kindness to Wang Teng. To them, Wang Teng wasn't just a light element martial warrior who knew a light force treatment. He was a genius with great potential and worth befriending. Wang Ting felt their overwhelming enthusiasm. When did he become so popular? Wang Ting wondered to himself. Then, he asked, what does being a representative mean? If you gain a good ranking as the military's representative, you'll receive rewards, promotion, military contributions, and resources from the military, General Cameron explained. Wang Teng was elated. He was right. There were benefits to gain by participating as the military's representative. Sigh, he felt troubled that he was a genius. He received special treatment wherever he went. Croft's face turned black when he heard their discussions. This fellow was getting more and more out of control. The League of Talents. If Wang Ting participated in this competition as the military's representative, his family would have a harder time dealing with him. Chapter 1253. This was the end of him. Wang Ting's spirit was powerful, so he was extremely sensitive to people's evil gazes. Besides, Crofts was just nearby, and he didn't hide his evil intentions. Wang Ting turned and glanced at him. A smile suddenly appeared on his face. Crofts' heart sank. He had a bad feeling. That was a sinister smile. General Cameron, I have something to report, Wang Ting said abruptly. Oh, what is it? General Cameron asked, feeling surprised. I was attacked by a bunch of martial warriors on my way back. What? General Cameron was appalled. Are you sure? The other generals' expressions also changed. They looked at Wang Ting simultaneously. Someone attacked a military martial warrior with military contributions on the number 29 defense planet. Who did it? Croft's gaze flickered, but he didn't reveal any emotions on his face. The instant he received the news that Dragon 14 had failed, he ordered them to leave. They should have left the number 29 defense planet now. Wang Ting wouldn't have the chance to expose him. Crofts smirked in his heart. He's just a young brat. He had no chance of bringing him down. Of course. I've killed the assassins, but the 3 leaders escaped, unfortunately, Wang Ting replied. Bastards. General Cameron was infuriated. Audacious. Extremely audacious. General Ukeri shouted in rage. Impudent. How dare they attack a man of merits on the number 29 defense planet? We must find this person and punish him without any mercy, General Chi Yuanju said in a cold voice. Anger burned in his eyes. All of them had high hopes for Wang Ting. Thus, they were enraged when they heard that someone attacked him. Moreover, they attacked him on the defense planet. This was an outright provocation to them and the military. Crofts didn't care about their anger. He placed his hands behind his back and looked down. So what if they were angry? They had no evidence, so they couldn't do anything to him. Wang Ting glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. This old man seemed quite composed. He didn't appear worried at all. Disgusting maggots are present everywhere. General Kimberly loathed. This time, Crofts couldn't maintain his poker face. The corners of his eyes trembled a little. He was a general, but he was called a maggot. He would be lying if he said he wasn't angry. No amount of cultivation could suppress his anger. But he couldn't retort. He would be confessing his crime if he did. This was frustrating. Wang Ting wanted to laugh. General Kimberly did a good job. Although she looked rough and bulky, Wang Ting found her extremely pleasing to the eyes. Major Wang Ting, do you know who attacked you? General Cameron asked. He glanced at Crofts involuntarily when he said this. Wang Ting's greatest enemy was the Parker's family. There was no one else. Furthermore, when Wang Ting came back from the third front line was when they were discussing who should be the commander of the Tiger Strike Force. The Parker's family had a huge motive to make their move then. He remembered Wendell's renunciation. Things seemed to link up. The recording device on my battlecraft recorded what happened. Please take a look. Wang Ting didn't say who it was. Instead, he brought out the evidence directly. Croft's expression changed again. Didn't they use signal disruption devices? Why was there still a recording? Damn it. How did they complete their task? They couldn't do anything right. He would be in trouble if Wang Ting was speaking the truth. Many thoughts ran through his mind as he tried to come up with a solution. That makes things easier. General Cameron was stunned for a moment. He glanced at Wang Ting in surprise before looking at his surroundings. Let's talk after we go back. You're right. This isn't the right place to discuss such matters. The other general nodded in agreement. Everyone left the field and went back to the command hall. The crowd watching Wang Ting and Hua Qia's match dispersed gradually. However, their duel was constantly talked about. Wang Ting's fame grew. It seemed to have spread to every corner of the defense planet. A defense planet was neither big nor small. But the special environment here meant that it was sparsely populated and most of the people lived on different bases. Hence, news spread quickly. After Wang Ting and the generals arrived at the command hall, he took out the video he recorded. The signal disruption devices did affect the operation of the recording device, but it wasn't hard for an intelligent lifeform like Roundball to record a video. Crofts threw away all his hopes upon seeing the video. He wondered if there was any substantive content inside that could threaten him. The video was played and the generals watched it seriously. Their expressions turned grim gradually as if they were suppressing their anger. They were in a bad mood. The video started when Dragon 14 and his comrades appeared. Wang Teng lured the other party into revealing their identity and Dragon 14 didn't hide any information because he thought he could kill Wang Teng successfully. Croft's face turned green. F***K, were they idiots? Why didn't they go and die? Why did they come back? These idiots were a waste of the Parkers family's resources. At this moment, everyone was looking at Crofts. The atmosphere in the hall tensed up. It felt chilly. General Kimberly and the others were staring at him with contempt in their eyes. Wang Ting sat calmly in his seat and smiled at Crofts. "Aren't you very composed? Continue to be composed. Why are you nervous?" Wang Ting felt refreshed when he saw the other party's response. He felt as if he drank a mouth of ice-cold Coke in the hot summer. "General Crofts, do you have anything to say?" General Cameron asked calmly. "Nonsense," Crofts shouted. "General Cameron, are you saying I'm the mastermind just because of this video? Isn't it so?" General Cameron asked coldly. "General Crofts, do you think we're blind?" General Kimberly scoffed. "These people revealed their identity too easily. They're trying to frame me," Crofts said agitatedly. Everyone frowned. What Crofts said was possible, but the chances of it weren't high. From this video, they could tell that the other party revealed his identity because he felt that he could kill Wang Ting. Of course, Wang Ting also baited him using his words, so they didn't say it voluntarily. This meant that his words were highly reliable. But Crofts insisted that the other party was framing him. If Wang Ting didn't have any substantive evidence, they couldn't do anything to Crofts. A snort was suddenly heard in the hall. It was filled with disdain. Everyone turned and looked at Wang Ting, who laughed out loud. "Why are you laughing?" Crofts frowned. "Nothing. Continue acting. I'll bring out the evidence after you finish acting," Wang Ting replied calmly. Crofts fumed for no reason when he heard Wang Ting's calm and contemptuous tone. He wished he could slap him to death, but he couldn't. Wang Ting seemed confident. Crofts felt puzzled and nervous. He said in a cold voice, "Take out your evidence if you have it. I'm innocent. I'm not afraid of others framing me. I didn't know that you were such a good actor." Wang Ting smirked. "Crofts. F***K, every sentence this brat says makes me feel like hitting him." "All right, Major Wang Ting, show your evidence," General Cameron said. "All right." Wang Ting nodded. He took out a piece of token and placed it on the table. "This token fell from one of the 3 leaders when I was fighting with them. I think General Crofts will recognize it." Of course, this didn't fall from the leader. Wang Ting found it on Dragon 14 when he caught him. Crofts' expression changed entirely when he saw the token. This was the identity token of the Parkers. The blood mark of the family member was etched on it. A single test was enough to prove its authenticity. He has no room to refute. But he didn't understand how Wang Ting got this token. The token would shatter once the owner died. It was impossible to land in other people's hands. Besides, who would carry their token around with them on their bodies? Wouldn't they keep it in their space equipment? Fell from his body? This was bullshit. Many thoughts went through Crofts' mind. In the end, he came up with one possibility. Dragon 14 and the others were caught, but after getting what he wanted, Wang Ting released them. What did he want to do? Crofts stared intently at Wang Ting with an ugly expression. He realized that he underestimated him. This brat was like a poisonous snake hiding among the bushes. He would strike and bite him whenever he let down his guard. One bite was enough to injure his core. General Crofts, aren't you going to continue your act? Wang Ting smiled at Crofts. He didn't care what the other party was thinking. Or rather, this was what Wang Ting wanted him to see. Dragon 14 and his comrades would be abandoned anyway. Their role was to cover up for Wendell. Wendell was the nail Wang Ting wanted to bury. General Crofts, we'll meet in the military court. General Cameron glanced at him coldly and left. The other generals got up and left without sparing Crofts another glance. In the blink of an eye, only Crofts was left in the hall. He seemed to have aged within a few seconds as he sat in his seat, dejected and filled with unwillingness. This was the end of him. Chapter 1254 Buddha's Sutra. There wasn't any suspense about Crofts' ending. There was no room for redemption if he was court-martialed. The military court was the highest authority in the Great Qian Empire's forces, and it couldn't be trampled on. It was impossible for anyone, not even someone from the Parker's family, to ignore the majesty of the military court and attempt to rescue Crofts. Crofts' career in the military was over. He would lose his position, rights, and maybe even his life. The war had just ended. Assaulting and trying to kill a martial warrior who had made great contributions was a violation of the military code. Moreover, something like this couldn't be kept under the sheets. Once it was made known, it would enrage countless martial warriors enlisted. They fought against dark apparitions on the front lines with their lives on the line. But now, they were getting attacked by their fellow humans. What was the logic behind this? Although they weren't the ones being attacked, they shared the same hatred. Once a precedent was set, there would be many future occurrences like this one. Given the circumstances, leaving Crofts unpunished would never diffuse the anger felt by those in the military. General Cameron and the others left, then Wang Ting got up and also left the hall. His expression was calm, so calm that Crofts found it hard to accept. Shouldn't Wang Ting be happy now that he had brought down a great enemy? Why does he seem like he only did a small thing? Crofts was unable to stomach such contempt. This only meant that Wang Ting didn't take him seriously at all. Being underestimated by someone he considered inferior was undoubtedly the biggest blow to a failure like him. Wang Ting returned to his residence and was ready to get a good rest. He would have been unable to hold on after repeated battles if it wasn't for his ability to speed his recovery by picking up attribute bubbles. However, his spirit was a little tired, even if his body could last. He didn't do anything. He took out a pile of delicacies to eat and slept after that. It wasn't a long while before a soft snoring could be heard. Round Ball appeared beside him and shook its head. There was a little concern in its eyes. Wang Ting slept soundly this time, his body and mind were relaxed. Waking up the following day, he felt that his entire body was cleared of any fatigue and felt extremely comfortable. Looks like you have to balance work and rest. It's not good to push too hard. Wang Ting shook his head and smiled bitterly while he stretched his back. Wang Ting, you have a few messages. Round Ball's voice could be heard in Wang Ting's mind. Let me see. Wang Ting nodded. There were 3 messages in total, the first being from General Cameron. It was a letter of appointment as the Tiger Strike Forces commander. He was also informed to collect his military uniform from the logistics department within 3 days and to show up for his new post. 3 days. There's no rush then. Wang Ting took a look at the second message, which was from Peggy. She was asking how he was doing. Based on the words, it wasn't difficult to see that she was a little concerned about him. After all, not everyone could stand such an intense battle. Wang Ting, looks like your adjutant is interested in you. Round Ball snickered. I'm handsome. I'm loved wherever I go, Wang Ting said shamelessly. Round Ball was rendered speechless after having underestimated his unabashed nature. Wang Ting hesitated for a bit, but still replied to Peggy with a short message. In any case, she was concerned about him. He couldn't just pretend he didn't see anything. On the other side, a pretty smile appeared on Peggy's mouth as she received Wang Ting's message. She usually had a serious and cold appearance. The sudden appearance of a smile was quite breathtaking. It was a pity that no one could see it. Peggy didn't reply to the message, simply closing her eyes and resuming her cultivation. She already felt the gap between her strength and Wang Teng's. Catching up was basically impossible, but she still had to work hard to shorten the distance. Otherwise, she might not even be able to see his back in the future. The third message was from Di Qi, who also asked about his condition. Wang Teng replied casually, not bothering much about it. At this time, probably due to the relaxed state of both body and mind, he felt that the inherited memory from the devouring nihility beast had loosened up. Many memory pieces were naturally integrated into his mind and digested by him. He then sat cross-legged on the bed and shut his eyes. Time passed little by little. His eyes opened about 3 hours later. A strange light flashed in his pupils. Buddha's Sutra, Divine Talent, World Devourer. He had a wide smile as he tapped into the newly acquired information. His heart overflowed with joy. Buddha's Sutra was a scripture. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, a spirit scripture. It was something that Wang Ting had always wanted. The devouring nihility beast didn't disappoint him in the slightest. Moreover, the Buddha's Sutra was not any ordinary spirit scripture. It was an extremely mysterious and ancient knowledge in the universe. This scripture seemed to have existed since the beginning of the universe. No one knew its origins, only a few powerful martial warriors had obtained it, and with it leaving a great mark throughout the cosmos. The most recent martial warrior was born 30,000 years before and reached the eternal stage. Then he disappeared without a trace. However, the Buddha's Sutra was well known. The cultivation method would aim to strengthen one's spirit and form a 9 treasures pagoda. The use of the sutra would manifest the artifact. It was extremely recognizable. The 9 treasures pagoda was actually a powerful means with both offense and defense capabilities. Once formed, not only could Wang Ting use it to attack his opponent's spirit, but his own spirit defense would also be greatly enhanced. It would be difficult for any spirit attack to harm him in the future, unless it was too far from his current stage. However, it wasn't easy to cultivate the Buddha's Sutra. Many more martial warriors would have successfully practiced it, instead of just a few. The spirit scripture was different from the ordinary kind, as it required an extraordinarily large amount of spiritual power to cultivate it. A vast amount of spirit was needed for a pagoda to form. It was just like building a house. If there weren't enough bricks, the house couldn't be built to completion, and it would be useless. Likewise, if the spirit wasn't enough, the 9 treasures pagoda wouldn't be finished. Fortunately, it wasn't a problem for Wang Teng. If his spiritual body wasn't considered strong, then no one would be stronger than him. It could even be said that his spirit was probably the strongest among the seniors who had obtained the Buddha's Sutra in the past. If word of this were to spread, people would probably think that Wang Ting was full of himself. Those seniors were all at least at the eternal stage. Back when they had a celestial stage cultivation, were their spirits weaker than Wang Teng's? It was indeed so. Wang Teng's spirit stopped improving upon reaching the celestial stage. However, he kept acquiring more spirit attributes which strengthened his spiritual body. Accumulating spirit like this was not something that could be compared to geniuses born with a strong spirit. Besides, there were more challenges when cultivating the Buddha's Sutra. The practitioner would need to endure great pain during the cultivation process. The entire thing was like having your spiritual body bashed with thousands of hammers to purify it. Even worse, this wasn't just a one-time process. It lasted for a long time. If he gave up halfway, the 9 treasures pagoda would collapse, and all his previous efforts would go down the drain. No one would even dare without having a strong willpower. The more powerful a spirit scripture was, the more painful it was to cultivate it. Considering the scripture's power level, the pain would be 100 times more than with ordinary spirit scriptures. A wry smile appeared on Wang Teng's face. There would be suffering in the future. He didn't cultivate immediately and went deep into procrastination. It wasn't because he was afraid of pain. It was because the Buddha's Sutra wasn't complete. The devouring nihility beast's memory only contained 3 levels of the scripture. There were 12 levels in total, enough to reach the eternal stage. However, Wang Teng's Buddha's Sutra had parts missing, and he had found this out. Still, he could advance to the universe stage with the first 3 levels. Wang Ting didn't know how many levels his seniors had obtained in the past. However, he was sure that none of them had the complete set. The Buddha's Sutra was too mysterious. Wang Ting shook his head and thought for a moment before making a decision. Forget it. Let's cultivate first. At least I can advance to the universe stage. I can just switch to something else if I can't find the rest by then. Switching scriptures wasn't an easy thing to do for others. The Buddha's Sutra was powerful, and its 9 treasures pagoda was naturally strong. If he were to switch later, he would have to destroy the pagoda. This would equate to self-harm for an ordinary person, as it was formed by their spirit. Spiritual damage was extremely troublesome. If careless, there would be unimaginable consequences that would affect future cultivation. It might even lead to the death of their soul. However, Wang Ting wasn't worried. He only needed to prepare large amounts of spirit attributes, which would be enough to mitigate the damage from destroying the 9 treasures pagoda. He could also look for medicine that could nourish and repair his spirit. He was more than able to prepare himself for it. Of course, those were things to worry for later. Maybe he would have a chance to find the other parts of the Buddha's Sutra. Wang Ting felt that he had a lot of luck by his side. Chapter 1255. A message from Veblen. The Light Velvet Race. Once he made his decision, Wang Ting shifted his focus to another legacy. Divine Talent, World Devourer. This sounded impressive, and it was indeed, truly impressive. Everyone knew that the devouring Nihility beast was powerful because it had the insane ability to devour everything. World Devourer, a divine talent, was the key to its engulfing ability. This enabled the creature to absorb anything, be it plants, rocks, metals, or life forms. Even mystical bodies could be devoured. The universe stage martial warrior who pursued Wang Ting fell victim to this ability and was still trapped in the devour space of the Nihility beast. What exactly was a divine talent? It wasn't ordinary for sure. Divine talents had such a name because they were extremely powerful battle techniques. Only those with pure bloodlines and born with powerful traits could possess them. In fact, a divine talent surpassed ordinary battle techniques. Otherwise, the Cosmos stage devouring Nihility beast would have been incapable of devouring the universe stage martial warrior. Wang Ting was overjoyed after learning how powerful World Devourer was and started thinking of farming more attribute bubbles. It would be a waste to give up on such a powerful divine talent. He would be able to farm on his own. Wang Ting could actually use World Devourer through the devouring Nihility beast, but using it himself was much cooler. Still, what if it wasn't around him and was busy with errands? What would happen then? So, for the sake of convenience, Wang Ting decided to farm World Devourer attributes. It was fine if he didn't run across this talent. But now that he did, he couldn't let it pass. He did whatever came to mind. Wang Ting immediately entered the dark devour space and floated in front of the devouring Nihility beast. First, he sensed the aura of the universe stage martial warrior to gauge his condition. Even an expert like that would be in dire straits when plunged into that place. The results surprised him greatly, though. Silen's life force was very strong. The devouring creature had absorbed less than 1% of his force thus far. It looked like a tough bone to nibble. On the other hand, the small world he was in was showing signs of collapse. A small world was the universe stage martial warrior's first line of defense. Once devoured, his body would be next. Wang Ting was astonished. Universe stage martial warriors were indeed deserving of their reputation, tenacious even in that situation. He shook his head and looked at the devouring Nihility beast's body. He then issued an order. The beast looked at him. Wang Ting was taken aback and slapped his forehead. He couldn't use World Devourer inside the devour space. He forgot about this matter altogether. He could only return to reality and put aside the thought about farming attribute bubbles for a while. Defense Planet number 29 wasn't a suitable place to use World Devourer. He had to wait for a better opportunity. Wang Ting shook his head in disappointment and curbed his enthusiasm. With nothing else to do, he decided to see Veblen and take a look at the research progress of the Devil Ovum and Devil Mind race. The nearby martial warriors recognized him as he walked over to Veblen's laboratory. Some were enthusiastic as they greeted him and some gave him curious looks, while others were murmuring amongst themselves. Wang Ting felt he had become the focus of everyone's attention. The sensation of being respected made him feel like he had returned to Earth. He didn't dwell upon it, though. He reached Veblen's laboratory soon after. Veblen was observing a devil-mind dark apparition kept in a glass enclosure. Once the latter saw him arrive, he said with sarcasm, "Great hero, how did you find the time to come here today? I'm here to see if you've made any progress." Wang Ting rolled his eyes. "Well, there's a bit of progress." Once he said that, Veblen immediately switched to a serious demeanor. "Oh, what did you discover?" "I found something interesting." "Guess what it is?" Veblen looked at Wang Ting. His eyes seemed to be telling him something. "How would I know?" Wang Ting was speechless. The devil ovum seems to have turned into an empty shell. "The origin of darkness that should be inside has disappeared," said Veblen in a casual tone as he looked into Wang Ting's eyes. "Come and read on our website Wuxia World site." Thanks, the latter's heart skipped a beat, but he didn't let his emotions show. He chuckled. "If you want to kill the devil ovum, you have to get rid of its origin of darkness." Veblen's expression changed. He approached him like a curious baby and probed, "Then, what method did you use to get rid of the origin of darkness? Can you tell me?" Moira was next to him. She glanced over and looked at Wang Ting curiously. Wang Ting felt a sense of relief. It turned out he wasn't suspected of absorbing the origin of darkness. Scary. He was speechless when he saw both of them behaving that way. He then spouted some nonsense. "It isn't much of a secret. I mastered a special light element battle technique that is able to destroy the origin of darkness." "That's it." Veblen rubbed his chin and exclaimed, "A light element battle technique able to destroy its origin of darkness without harming the shell? That is not an ordinary battle technique." Wang Ting changed the subject. "By the way, you promised to tell me how light force could be improved after I was done dealing with the devil ovum. Now it's time to speak. That was the main reason why he was there." "Did I?" Veblen's eyes flickered. He turned his head and tried to feign ignorance. Wang Ting was speechless. "Hey, how can you be so shameless? Do you want to ruin your reputation as a wise man?" Moira was caught between laughter and tears. She knew that her teacher was trying to go back on his word. He had surely made an agreement with Wang Ting, but now he wanted to deny it. That guilty look of his was too obvious. But Wang Ting said he wanted to improve his light force. Was that the reason? Moira suddenly realized why her teacher was being like that. Veblen's expression worsened when he heard Wang Ting's words. He had agreed too hastily, even putting the reputation of the Intelligence Nativity clan at stake. Now, he was filled with regret when he thought about it. "What do we do?" "Veblen the wise man." Wang Ting emphasized the words wise man on purpose. All right, I'll tell you." Veblen waved his hand in despair and said seriously, "But before that, you have to promise me one thing." "I still have to promise you something?" Wang Ting frowned in displeasure. The man had agreed to tell him once the devil ovum was handled, and now, he was changing his tune. He wasn't that easygoing. "Teacher." Moira seemed to have sensed the latter's annoyance and nudged Veblen. "Hear me out." Veblen rolled his eyes. It was hard to keep a woman at home. Wang Ting glanced at Moira and said, "I'll do that for Moira's sake. But don't blame me for not playing along if your request is ridiculous." Moira blushed instantly. It didn't feel right. Why am I involved in this? She just didn't want the two to become enemies for no reason. However, she didn't know why she felt a little happy when the fellow said that. Veblen saw that something was going on with their eyes and quickly took a step forward to block their eye contact. "I'm not asking you to do anything. It's more of a request. I underestimated you back then. I didn't expect that you could really deal with the devil ovum. I shouldn't have told you about it, lest someone disturb their peaceful life. But now," he sighed in helplessness. "Forget it. As long as you promise me you won't do anything to hurt them, I'll tell you." "Them?" Wang Ting said, "You have to tell me who they are. That place is a special planet with a very dense light force. They are natives of that planet, Veblen explained. I see, so the natives are still weak. Wang Ting understood. That's right. Veblen nodded. An underdeveloped planet. No wonder you're so worried. What stage is their strongest martial warrior? Wang Ting asked. The strongest is their elder, a planetary stage martial warrior. Planetary stage martial warrior. That's not right. You said you know them, why don't you help them? Wang Ting was suspicious. It's because those life forms are very special and I can't help much. But I have helped them collect many light element scriptures in recent years. However, their cultivation methods are different from the traditional sort. They can't cultivate the ones I've obtained for them, Veblen replied. There's such a thing. Wang Ting frowned and asked curiously, special? How special? They belong to the light velvet race, not the human race. Veblen suddenly realized something. You haven't promised me yet. I can accept your condition. Of course, on the premise that they don't attack me, Wang Ting responded. Don't worry. I'll let them know in advance. They wouldn't do anything to you for my sake, Veblen assured. I hope so. Wang Ting nodded and said with joy, a planet with dense light force. That's rare indeed. It'll definitely help me a lot. That place is a holy land for light element martial warriors. Perhaps you'll be noticed by them, given your light talent, Veblen said. Wang Ting didn't care whether he would be recognized, he was just going there to farm attribute bubbles. A planet with dense light force would definitely have heaps of light attribute bubbles. Chapter 1256. The confidence of a bug. Veblen didn't know what Wang Ting was thinking. He also didn't know that the best resources for Wang Ting were attribute bubbles. Anything else came second. Hence, his worry was unnecessary. Wang Ting wouldn't harm the other party for no reason. However, Veblen was still worried, so he signed a spiritual contract with Wang Ting in the end, all to ensure that nothing would happen. Wang Ting signed his name without any hesitation. All right, I'll send you the coordinates of the light velvet race's planet. You can search for it yourself, Veblen said as he operated his wristwatch. He was satisfied with the young man's attitude. Okay, I got it. Wang Ting looked at his wristwatch and nodded. When are you planning to go to the light velvet planet? Veblen asked. The light velvet planet was the light creature's home. The light velvet planet? What a sloppy name. Wang Ting gave Veblen a strange look as he complained. I didn't name it. The light velvet race named it themselves, Veblen replied angrily. He had trouble finding words as he felt Wang Ting's contemptuous gaze. Wang Ting coughed awkwardly and brought the topic back. Cough, I can't go there right now. I'll head there after a few days. Tell me when you're going. I'll inform the Grand Elder, Veblen replied. Wang Ting nodded. He was about to leave. Go now, quick. Your face makes me mad. Veblen waved his hands in disdain. Wang Ting laughed. He was elated because he had received many benefits. Moira showed him to the door. She hesitated for some time before saying, Wang Ting, the light velvet race is kind-hearted. I hope you can treat them the same. Do all of you think that I'm a bad guy? Wang Ting didn't know what to say. Moira couldn't hold back her smile when she saw his reaction. We're just worried. If other people knew of their existence, they could suffer a devastating blow. My master and I have confidence in your character, but we're just worried. That's why we are naggy about the subject. I hope you don't mind. Don't worry. I'm not a greedy person. I won't do anything to them, Wang Ting promised. He understood their feelings. Earth went through something similar in the past as it entered the universe stage. Back then he was worried that formidable powers would lay their eyes on them and turn all Earthlings into slaves. That would be tragic. The light velvet race was more valuable than the Earthlings. Light element martial warriors were rare in the universe and resources for that element were just as scarce. If they were found, martial warriors would flock to them. Their planet had a great amount of light force, so there had to be an abundance of light element resources. The light velvet race itself was one of those resources. Many people would see them as money. Not everyone could resist such temptation. It was understandable why Veblen was cautious. Wang Ting was about to leave when a question popped up in his mind. Oh right, did you get your light element armor from them? Well, he kind of liked the armor. Moira glared at him with disdain. Didn't he say that he wasn't greedy? He exposed his true character within the blink of an eye. This fellow doesn't bother hiding his thoughts. Cough, don't be nervous. I was just asking. I can offer something in exchange for the armor. Wang Ting coughed awkwardly. He felt a little guilty after seeing Moira's gaze. Yes, we received it from them. The Grand Elder gave many items to my master as a way to thank him for his help. My master made the armor with those materials. Moira nodded. How lucky, Wang Teng lamented. The materials aren't cheap. How could the Grand Elder give them away so easily? Wang Teng wondered. The Light Velvet race probably didn't know the value of those materials in the rest of the universe, and Veblen got them for peanuts. What do you mean by lucky? Moira glared at him. She seemed to know what he was thinking and said angrily, "We told the Grand Elder that the materials were rare, but she insisted on giving them to us. To make up for it, my master kept on helping them. That is why they are able to maintain such a long and good relationship." Wang Teng felt a little embarrassed. He gauged the heart of a gentleman with his own mean measure. Moira was indeed smart. She knew what he was thinking. She had both a good figure and a good brain. Don't be angry. I'm the one at fault. Wang Ting smiled and apologized hurriedly. All right, I'm going back to work if you have no more questions. Moira rolled her eyes in a beautiful manner and turned to walk away. Wait, I have one last question. Wang Ting pulled her back quickly. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Why do you have so many questions? What is it? Moira felt helpless. Haha, well. What does the Light Velvet race like? I can offer them some gifts to gain their favor, Wang Ting said in a fawning tone. How shrewd of you. Moira shook her head. She didn't know how to react. Well, they do like light element items. They love to plant, so you can find some light element spiritual herbs or light element materials. They surely have an abundance of that, Wang Ting said. That's true. Moira found Wang Ting's helpless expression a little funny. But you can search for some unique resources that they might not have on their planet. Also, their biggest problem is cultivation. You could become their guest of honor if you're able to solve this issue for them. Your status might even surpass my master's. Wang Ting nodded in deep thought. He felt that it was a good option. Forming a new cultivation method would be extremely hard for an ordinary person. They might not be able to achieve it in a lifetime. But nothing was impossible for Wang Ting. As long as he had enough scriptures, he could use them as reference, along with many trials and errors, all to form a new scripture. This was the confidence of a bug. The main point was, he needed to go through many trials and errors. He wondered if the Light Velvet race would cooperate with him. Wang Ting didn't have any more questions, so he left. He threw the Light Velvet planet to the back of his mind once he got back to his lodging. He couldn't leave Defense Planet number 29 for now. It was useless to think too much about it. He sat cross-legged and started cultivating the Buddha's Sutra. Although his spirit was very powerful and pure, it was messy. He wanted to refine it, but he didn't have the scripture. Now, having the Buddha's Sutra, he could proceed with the refining. As for the pain of the refining process, he was afraid. Wang Ting closed his eyes and read through the first level of the Buddha's Sutra, then started to cultivate once he was done. He needed to form 100 spiritual hammers at the entry level. The tools would be used to hammer himself. It felt painful just thinking about it. The hammers couldn't be ordinary, either. Well, he could choose the ordinary kind, but the spiritual body refined would be of the lowest class. No one would use ordinary hammers if they possessed an incredible scripture like the Buddha's Sutra. However, creating a powerful hammer was difficult, too. Spiritual hammers would be created through visualization. For that, he needed an object for him to visualize first. The more powerful the visualized object, the stronger the spiritual hammer and the more dangerous it would be. If the hammer was too powerful, it could crush the martial warrior's consciousness, which was lethal. However, a stronger spiritual hammer would also mean a more powerful spiritual body. That would be the foundation for the 9 Treasures Pagoda. The sturdier the foundation, the stronger the building. Wang Ting entered the virtual universe. Round Ball appeared beside him. Wang Ting had a lot of money, so he bought a property in the virtual universe. Later, he appeared inside his own house when he entered the virtual universe. Round Ball, help me find the strongest hammers and maces in the universe, Wang Ting said. So you're going for the most powerful ones? Round Ball knew that Wang Ting wanted to practice the Buddha's Sutra. At the same time, it also knew how dangerous it was, which made it feel concerned. It wasn't a joke. A single mistake could be horrendous. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing, Wang Tang replied. Round Ball stopped persuading, seeing how adamant the guy was. It started searching. Soon, a screen appeared in front of Wang Ting. There were 8 different kinds of hammers and maces on the screen. They had one similarity: all of them were ancient. He wasn't looking at the real weapon, but Wang Ting could still sense the ancient vibe they gave off. This proved that they had been around for centuries. These weapons have astonishing backgrounds. They are the most powerful maces and hammers acknowledged publicly, but they're scattered all over the universe. Some belonged to formidable warriors while others went missing. I can only show you their images. It's fortunate that their appearances were captured. You can even sense their aura. I think they're enough for your visualization, Round Ball said. Yes. Wang Ting nodded, attracted by the weapons. Let me introduce them to you. The mace is the Savage Hammer. It is said to have been created by a divine-level blacksmith from the dwarf race. Round Ball started introducing the weapons. Wang Ting listened to Round Ball with interest. Just like what it said, all these weapons came from a great background. It felt incredible just listening to their names. Chapter 1257: Reappearance of the Ancient Gods. The Fire God Hammer and the Lightning God Hammer. 1. Round Ball finished introducing 6 out of the 8 weapons. All of them had amazing backgrounds. All 6 weapons had been made by divine-level blacksmiths and were specifically recorded. Divine-level blacksmiths. They were divine-level blacksmiths. Wang Teng wasn't a clueless novice and understood what this meant. They were the highest representatives of the blacksmith circle. Anything with the word divine included equated to having reached a certain peak. It also meant that the 6 maces they forged were of divine rank. The newest among them had been created 8,000 years prior, and the oldest was done 100 of millions of years before. No wonder the real thing couldn't be found. The weapons had to be in the hands of formidable martial warriors usually known as gods. Those gods had escaped the restriction of time and lived eternally, so no one could snatch the weapons from them. The last 2 weapons were somewhat special. They came as a pair. Round Ball turned serious when he talked about the last 2 weapons. These 2 hammers only exist in legends. Honestly, I don't recommend you to use them for your visualization. Wang Ting stared at the last 2 weapons with interest. The first 6 appeared as an image, but the last 2 weapons were just carvings on the wall. For some reason, he felt that the carving style was a bit familiar when he saw them. What is this? Wang Ting asked. This carving was found in an ancient hall made with black stone, Round Ball replied. A black stone hall? Wang Ting frowned. It's a great hall floating in the universe, made of an unknown black-colored material, which is extremely sturdy and mysterious. No one can destroy it. It's strange. Round Ball contemplated before it continued. An eternal stage martial warrior once went in to look around but never came out. The people outside heard agonizing screams from the martial warrior, so he's probably dead. The Great Hall is constantly moving, randomly appearing in front of people and disappearing without a trace as if it never existed. No one knows where it came from or where it's heading to. The Great Hall has been a mystery since the very first time it made an appearance. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, I didn't know there was such a strange place in the universe, Wang Teng exclaimed in shock. Even the eternal stage martial warrior died when he entered the Great Hall. What's inside it? Who made it? I know what you're thinking, but no one knows who built it. Legends started to sprout trillions of years ago. Trillions of years ago. Wang Teng gasped. How ancient is it? Now you know why these hammers only exist in legends. Round Ball shook his head. Since they are just part of a legend, why are you showing them to me? Wang Teng rolled his eyes. Round Ball refuted in a firm tone, cough, I filtered them in because you wanted the most powerful hammers and maces. If I don't show them to you and you later find them one day, you could find them more to your liking and get angry at me. Makes sense. Wang Teng had nothing to complain about. Since you're not going to use them, I'll filter them out, Round Ball said. Wait. Wang Teng stopped it in a hurry. Why? Are you planning to use them? Round Ball asked curiously. Calm down. Didn't you say that this is from the Great Hall's wall carvings? They're not the only carving, right? Are there others? Can you show me? Wang Teng asked. Well, I guess everyone would be curious about the carvings in the Great Hall the first time they heard about it, Round Ball replied with a smile. It waved a hand, and a screen appeared in the air again, displaying a few hundred paintings. Wang Teng's interest was piqued as he looked at them carefully. All the powerful races were carved in the paintings. There were humans, fairies, dwarfs, orcs, three-eyed races, and many others. All the millions of races in the universe seemed to be recorded. There were even powerful universe behemoths, including the Great Qian Empire's Kunwu beast, the giant dragon of the Parker's family, and the devouring Nihility beast. Numerous divine weapons could also be seen. Swords, blades, battle axes, etc. They seemed to be the divine weapons of the respective races, weapons that only existed in legends. Some did exist while others were covered in mystery, having disappeared from history. Wang Teng was awestruck after he looked at the carvings. He couldn't calm down for a long time. He could feel the pass of their civilizations and the immensity of the universe as he saw those carvings. The paintings were like a thick history book. After some time passed, Wang Teng took a deep breath and said, "The person who built this great hall has a purpose." Of course. Unfortunately, no one has managed to leave that place alive, Round Ball replied. Wang Teng shook his head and stopped arguing with Round Ball. His gaze finally landed on the two divine hammers displayed on the carvings. Chapter 1258 Reappearance of the Ancient Gods. The Fire God Hammer and the Lightning God Hammer, too. He finally understood why he found them familiar. The ancient gods. Wang Teng muttered to himself. There was a special race carved in the walls, the ancient gods. Huh! You know about the ancient gods? Round Ball was surprised. Is it strange? Wang Teng asked. Of course. They disappeared millions of years ago. I wouldn't know about them without doing my research, the other replied emotionally. Oh, said a nonplussed Wang Teng. They were gone, he didn't see any of them when alive. However, he had indeed seen one of their corpses. Still, he didn't want to explain himself. Round Ball felt unhappy. What's with that response? It felt offended. How did you learn about the ancient gods? I saw one by coincidence, Wang Teng replied casually. TSK, you don't have to reply if you don't want to. The little one pouted and returned to the main topic. Which ones are you going to choose? These two. Wang Teng pointed at the last two hammers. The details on the two hammers could be appreciated in the carvings, even their colors and outline were visible. It wouldn't be complicated to use them for visualizations. The only issue was, he didn't know how powerful they were. As far as they knew, they were but fictitious things of legend. None of them knew a thing about them. However, Wang Teng believed that the ancient god weapons would be anything but weak. That was why he decided to bet on it. Round Ball was stunned. It spoke at length, yet the fellow still chose the last two hammers. Why? It frowned and asked. No reason. I just want to choose them, Wang Teng replied, nonchalant. The little one was at a loss. Wang Teng wasn't being rash, but he did it with a light heart. Round Ball couldn't make heads or tails about it. Never mind, it's your choice. It doesn't matter to me. The little fellow disappeared the next instant, feeling it would go crazy if it kept arguing with the human. Wang Teng was confused, but he didn't dwell upon it. Once he chose the hammers, he disappeared from the virtual universe. Reality. He closed his eyes and the images from the pair of hammers popped up in his mind. He started outlining them using his spiritual power. The weapons had no mutual resemblance whatsoever. One was covered in flames, etched with occult crimson patterns all over. It looked mysterious. The flames formed a sharp tip at the bottom of the hammer, like a flame tongue when swung through the air. The other was surrounded by lightning, packed with complex, purple-colored patterns. It would release the power of lightning when swung, striking down from the sky. It was extraordinary. Wang Ting came up with names for them. One was the Fire God Hammer. The other was the Lightning God Hammer. The naming was convenient, easy to remember. Besides, it sounded impressive and classy. Perfect. It wasn't easy outlining the two hammers as their patterns were extremely complex. They weren't runes he knew, the rules of heaven and earth seemed to be embedded within. It sounded deep and profound, and it was. Wang Teng remained patient, slowly outlining the hammers based on his understanding. His theory was strong, so he could sense the power of fire and lightning on those patterns, even though he didn't know what they represented. Their might was similar to the power of origin. He was gradually able to emulate their auras as he drew the hammers with his understanding. Time passed slowly. 2 days passed. Round Ball appeared next to Wang Teng and frowned at him. It mumbled, "Did you fail? I told you not to choose those two hammers, but you went and did it anyway. Seriously. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site." Thanks, however, it didn't have the guts to say it out loud. Being an intelligent life form, it had a self-deprecating feeling. Why am I in this state? It felt inferior. Round Ball floated around Wang Teng twice, feeling worried. Then, it decided to sit in front of him and stare until it received a response. Swoosh. Just then, Wang Teng suddenly woke up. A pair of flashes appeared in his eyes, one red and one purple. The red light was scorching hot while the purple glow sparkled with electricity. The hammer's outlines could be seen within those glows. It was a little strange for them to appear in his eyes. However, Round Ball didn't think too much of it, and stared at Wang Ting in disbelief. "You did it." Wang Ting was stunned, not expecting the little fellow to be right in front of him. The hammers in his eyes dispersed, and he nodded. "Yes, I just formed them through visualization. Indeed, they are special." "Shucks, you always surprise me," Round Ball exclaimed. Then, it urged him, "Quick, tell me how special they are. They are very powerful. They seem to contain the rules of heaven and earth." "I can feel that they're more powerful than the first 6 hammers," said Wang Ting after contemplating for a moment. "Looks like the 2 hammers are exceptional." "You just confirmed the rumors," Round Ball said with a smile. "Ha ha ha, all the people doing research should thank me." Wang Ting laughed. "Unfortunately, these 2 hammers have never made an appearance." "It would be awesome if they did," Round Ball said. "Even if they do appear, it has nothing to do with us. There would be formidable martial warriors fighting for them." Wang Ting shook his head. "All right, I'm going to refine my spirit." "Okay." Round Ball nodded and disappeared. Wang Ting closed his eyes again. Both hammers floated in his consciousness. A special fluctuation flowed around them. He needed to replicate them. Based on Buddha Sutra's first level, he needed 100 hammers for the refining process. Since forming the first ones had been achieved, the only thing left to do was to copy and paste them, which was an easier process. He released his spiritual power and hammers started forming. They all came in pairs, one fire god hammer and one lightning god hammer. Time passed slowly. Finally, the 100 hammers were created, filling up his consciousness. It was a grand sight. No wonder it was necessary to have a powerful spirit to practice the Buddha's Sutra. The 100 spiritual hammers had already used up much of his spiritual power. An ordinary person would have had a hard time recreating such a feat. Besides, they were powerful hammers. The stronger the spiritual hammer, the more spiritual power required. The 2 hammers visualized were the most powerful available. Only Wang Teng could make them. Furthermore, he still had an immense amount of spiritual power left after making all those hammers. It was all thanks to the spirit attributes he had accumulated over that period of time. Wang Ting controlled the hammers and used them to bash his spiritual body. Bang, bang, bang. Gasp. Wang Teng's face turned pale. He breathed in deeply. It was so painful. He almost screamed, even considering his willpower. Regret was surfacing at the moment. Why did he use the 100 hammers right then and there? I should have used one hammer to test first. He was reckless. Too late for regrets, though. He had already started hammering his spiritual body, so he had no choice but to continue. Bang, bang, bang. Dull thuds echoed continuously in Wang Teng's consciousness. His spiritual body slowly started to solidify. At the same time, the power of rules seeped into his mind, particularly of the origin of flame and the origin of lightning. They flowed down the patterns and merged into Wang Ting's consciousness with each hammer strike. Huh! Wang Ting noticed the power. He was shocked. This is the power of rules of the origin. The Fire God Hammer and the Lightning God Hammer are able to provide the power of rules to build the 9 treasures pagoda. If that's the case, let's add some oil to the flame. Wang Ting had a crazy idea. Chapter 1259 The Unique 9 Treasures Pagoda. Ideas started blooming in Wang Teng's heart after realizing that the Fire God Hammer and the Lightning God Hammer could stir up the power of rules. There was no description in the Buddha's Sutra saying that the power of rules from the origins would appear during the cultivation of the 9 treasures pagoda. It could only mean that it came from the 2 visualized weapons. Those special hammers ignited the power of rules. Wang Teng's choice was the right call. The 2 hammers were indeed extraordinary. One was a fire element hammer while the other harnessed the lightning element. By right, if there were external elemental forces present, the power of the hammers would increase. Coincidentally, Wang Teng had both of them. Divine Flame. Heaven-Earth Calamity Lightning. However, activating them was dangerous. Everything was happening in Wang Teng's consciousness. In the likelihood of the weapons exploding, failing to withstand the power of the divine flames and the Heaven-Earth Calamity Lightning, it would cause irreparable damage to his mind space. Consciousness, an essential part to all living creatures, once it collapsed, the person would die, unless the spirit was powerful enough to survive outside the body. Still, Wang Teng decided to take the risk. He was a little mad, but he was clear-headed. He made some preparations before activating his divine flames and the Heaven-Earth Calamity Lightning, relocating the 100 hammers into the devouring Nihility Beast space. The devouring Nihility Beast was an indomitable universal behemoth, with a consciousness many times stronger than Wang Teng's. It was also tougher, normal powers couldn't destroy it. Thus, it was better to carry out such risky experiments within the beast's consciousness. The Devour Nihility Beast clone, *tilde, you're so evil. An intense bitterness swirled around the creature's mind, floating right and left in front of Wang Teng. Don't be like that. Your consciousness is powerful, you'll be fine, Wang Teng said, the tone laced with guilt. Anyway, we're in this together. Let's not dwell on the details. The Devour Nihility Beast clone. He wasn't wrong. After a round of appeasing the other, Wang Teng got serious. He merged the divine flames into the Fire God Hammer. First was the emerald glazed flame. Good, it didn't explode. Next, the soul of 1,000 beasts flame. It remained intact. Third came the holy flame. Good, nothing happened. Wang Teng wiped some virtual sweat. Lastly, the dark flame. The Fire God Hammer became a little unstable. The 4 flames had been with Wang Ting for a long time, so they wouldn't rebel. Still, they acted out and became violent when instilled into the Fire God Hammer at the same time. Wang Ting's heart was racing furiously. Should I remove one divine flame? Fortunately, the Fire God Hammer didn't burst. It withstood the fluctuations of 4 divine flames. Puff! Wang Ting let out a massive sigh. At this moment, an eruption occurred. Boom! After the flames were infused, the ones surrounding the hammer were no longer illusory. They turned into real flames. Success! Wang Teng was elated. The hammer didn't collapse, and became more powerful. This validated his previous guess. The power of rules flowing in from outside became faster when he wielded the Fire God Hammer. He was invigorated by the feeling. No longer hesitating, he took out his heaven-earth calamity lightning to instill the lightning god hammer. This time, the other weapon showed no signs of exploding. After all, there was only one kind of lightning power, and it was at the first rank. Once the step was made, the purple patterns on the lightning god hammer shimmered brightly. Lightning sparks started to course around the hammer. It looked divine. Wang Ting transferred the hammers into his own consciousness. Bang, bang, bang. Then, he bashed his spiritual body with the hammers. Dull thuds rang in his consciousness again. During the hammering process, the scorching heat produced by the fire god hammer invaded his spiritual body and refined it. The power on the lightning god hammer worked the same way. Tiny bolts of lightning crept into his spiritual body and purified it. The addition of lightning and flames caused the pain to increase. Even his real body started trembling. His face paled while showing a contorted expression. Large drops of sweat dripped down his forehead, drenching his shirt. Groans came out of his throat. There were blood traces at the corner of his lips. Again, Wang Teng didn't stop. He kept shouting in his heart. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks again. Again. The 100 hammers started plummeting down. Only their lingering shadows could be seen. Boom. The pain worsened as time passed and Wang Teng became numb. One could only tell that the suffering continued by looking at the twitching muscles on his face. A mysterious pagoda was slowly being constructed inside Wang Teng's consciousness. It gave off a faint golden glow. Although incomplete, an ancient and majestic aura could already be felt. It was profound, vast, and noble. Red, green, white, and black flames shot up and circled the pagoda, burning violently as if in the process of forging real gold. Purple bolts of lightning struck down from the top of his consciousness. Thunder roared as they struck the building. If someone were standing right in front of Wang Teng, they would be oblivious to the terrifying scenery inside his mind. Amid the magical scene, the mysterious pagoda continued to give off a faint golden glow. It was conspicuous and dazzling, nothing could hide its glamour. The golden glow intensified as the powers refined it. The result was visible, even with the glaring flames and the bolts of lightning. The construction became firmer, and was about to be completed. Wang Teng could finally see the pagoda's appearance. There were 9 levels in the pagoda, and was a few hundred meters tall. The 100 hammers seemed to be minuscule before it. The structure was complex, its pinnacle, eaves, and columns were filled with paintings of divine and mysterious animals. Those creatures were ferocious and scary, as big as giants. They seemed to be ready to leap out from the walls to worship the pagoda. A majestic and stern aura was spread. Wang Ting had never seen those beings, yet he felt that they looked similar to the ancient gods. They were enormous and muscular like giant statues. However, the creatures depicted on the pagoda were even more hideous and savage when compared to the ancient gods. They were 2 different breeds. Boom, boom, boom. His entire consciousness was trembling. The 9 treasures pagoda was slowly forming with the help of the divine flames and the calamity lightning. Wisps of the power of rules were seeping in from the outside world, merging into the building and giving it an unpredictable strength. The addition of the fire god hammer and the lightning god hammer caused the 9 treasures pagoda to move in an unknown direction. The person who created the Buddha's sutra had never foreseen such a change. Time passed gradually. On the 3rd day at dawn, the pagoda inside Wang Teng's consciousness was finally completed. The 4 divine flames dispersed and the lightning above the pagoda started to calm down. Wang Teng's consciousness settled down again. The 9 treasures pagoda floated in his deep consciousness, giving off a gentle and dazzling golden glow. It was vibrant and eye-catching. If placed among a bunch of shining pagodas, people would still notice it first. Wang Teng was exhausted but happy. Success. He finally formed the 9 treasures pagoda. He observed the building carefully and noticed the faint presence of red, green, white, black, and purple occult patterns under the golden glow. Those were the colors of his divine flames and the calamity lightning. The patterns weren't obvious, being covered by the golden light. He wouldn't have noticed them if he didn't look carefully. There's no description about this in the Buddha's sutra. Was this caused by the power of rules? Wang Tung wondered. He could feel the power of rules from the 9 treasures pagoda. This allowed it to have a stronger offensive power. If created with the normal process, it could be used to hit other spiritual bodies. However, since it had the power of rules from the origins, the power of flames and lightning could be constrained inside. This was amazing. What were spiritual bodies afraid of? Flames and lightning. Wang Ting's 9 treasures pagoda was sturdy, and also possessed the power of flames and lightning. It was a great spiritual weapon. Its defensive ability had also increased. If anyone wanted to destroy the pagoda, they would first have to break the defenses established with flames and lightning. This gave him 2 additional shields. Wang Ting was overjoyed. He let out a sigh. The gains were better than expected. Next, he just needed to continue refining the 9 treasures pagoda and make it stronger. The more powerful his spiritual power, the stronger the pagoda would be. Right then, the devouring nihility beast clone appeared in Wang Ting's consciousness and sized up the 9 treasures pagoda with interest. Wang Ting, make a pagoda for me, too. Oh right, I should do that. Wang Ting's eyes lit up. He nodded and laughed. That way, I'll have 2 pagodas. Ha ha ha. The devouring nihility beast clone smiled. Wang Ting wanted to forge another pagoda right away, but he recalled it was the day he would take over as regiment commander of the Tiger Strike Force. Hence, he had to put the matter on hold. Right when he was about to leave his consciousness, he noticed that something was amiss. The 2 hammers are still here. Wang Ting stared in surprise at the lightning god hammer and the fire god hammer. The other 98 hammers had dispersed, but those 2 remained. Wang Ting could tell that they were the first 2 hammers he had created. What is going on? Chapter 1260. Even the dog swaggers when its master wins favor. According to the Buddha's Sutra, visualized objects could dissipate and materialize at any time. Wang Ting dissipated the fire god hammer and lightning god hammer after creating the pagoda. After all, visualized objects consumed spiritual power. But then he realized that the 2 hammers were still there. This didn't seem right. Did the hammers have self-awareness? The 2 hammers were floating next to the 9 treasures pagoda, looking small in comparison, which is why he didn't notice them at first. He stretched out his hands, and the 2 hammers flew to land on his palms obediently. He then tried to sense them. There's no consciousness, but they contain the contract origin. Wang Ting had a weird expression, as if having discovered the reason why the 2 hammers had stayed behind. They appeared to be similar to the 9 treasures pagoda. Does this count as, buy 1 get 2 free? It doesn't matter. It's a good thing anyway. Wang Ting shook his head. The 2 hammers seemed good for bashing people. Apart from that, he couldn't think of any other uses for the time being. He stopped thinking about it and planned to study them at his own pace later. Reality. Wang Tung slowly opened his eyes. His complexion was a little pale, and he felt that his facial muscles were a bit stiff as he rubbed them with his hands. The Buddha's Sutra is meant for people to cultivate. It's too painful. Wang Tung muttered, my face is not paralyzed, is it? He hurriedly got off the bed and entered the bathroom. He then saw himself in the mirror and flashed a wry smile. It looked like his face was indeed paralyzed. For something to make him look like this meant that the cultivation process was really painful. Round Ball appeared beside him and circled around him. It then gloated, yo, zombie. Get lost. Wang Tung rolled his eyes. He quickly used the light force in his body to circulate around his face. His facial muscles softened quickly after that treatment. Boring, it's good to change your style once in a while. Round Ball curled its lips. Why don't you change yours, then? Wang Tung ignored him and went to the bathroom to wash up after taking off his clothes. He was drenched in sweat. He couldn't just go out and meet people without cleaning himself up first. Once done, he walked out of the bathroom feeling refreshed. Your adjutant brought a uniform for you. I asked her to put it by the door, Round Ball said. Wang Tung was drying his hair as he said in surprise, she brought it for me. Hihi, she takes good care of you. Round Ball winked at Wang Ting. Shoo. Wang Ting rolled his eyes and opened the door. There was a silver box waiting for him. It was different from the supply box he previously collected. There was a majestic and ferocious tiger logo printed on it. It was like a real tiger about to pounce on him. Wang Ting raised his eyebrow and took the box inside. He opened it and saw his official attire and other things within. He took out the uniform and unfolded it with a slight shake. Wang Ting saw a tiger head logo embroidered on the uniform's chest area. It was black, but the eyes were in a red color, which was exactly the same as the logo on the box. This should be the Strike Forces symbol. Wang Ting smiled and wiped his body dry before donning it. The garment was a good fit to his tall and straight body. There was a fierce aura emanating from his body, however, it quickly disappeared. Wang Ting had contained it all. Aside from the uniform, there were healing pills, energy stones, and other items in the box. All of them were several levels higher than the previous ones. However, it didn't make a difference for him. He was wealthy. That was how confident he was. Once ready, Wang Ting informed Peggy and the others before he left the room. Peggy and the others had been waiting for a long time. Wang Ting had told them he would make them a part of the Tiger Strike Force. They were excited, really looking forward to it. They would be part of a renowned division. Many people had tried their best to get in but failed. Now, such an amazing opportunity had come their way thanks to Wang Ting. Entering the Tiger Strike Force came with a rise of status. They would receive more resources because of it. At least twice as much. That was common knowledge, and the reason why many people wanted to be a member. Soon, Wang Ting met Peggy and the others in the field. Looks like everyone is happy. Wang Ting smiled. Boss, don't make fun of us. Entering the Tiger Strike Force is a dream come true for us, Arwen said with embarrassment. Peggy looked at Wang Ting and said with gratitude, this is all thanks to you, Major Wang Ting. Even someone like her would be unable to curb her excitement. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks if that's the case, let's hurry. Looks like you can't wait any longer. Wang Ting laughed. That group of subordinates had helped him a lot in the past. He didn't mind supporting them. Everyone then walked toward the place where the Tiger Strike Force was. All the squads of the main base were stationed on the periphery. Once war broke out and endangered the main base, they would act as the first line of defense. The Tiger Strike Force was stationed to the west of the main base. Wang Ting and the others drew many eyes as they made their way over. That's Major Wang Ting. They are going to the Tiger Strike Force, right? They should be. The Tiger Strike Force is over there, but why are there so many of them? It goes without saying that Major Wang Ting is taking his subordinates along. Why else would he do that? No way. They are so lucky to join. Everyone was discussing, trying to guess Wang Ting's thoughts. There was envy on their faces. Even a dog swaggers when its master wins favor. They were green with envy. They didn't have the luck to join Wang Ting's squad earlier. However, they only felt envious for a while. They knew they had no chance. No one could have predicted that a newcomer like Wang Ting would become Tiger Strike Force commander. No one thought that joining Wang Ting would be a good thing. A while later, Wang Ting got to the place where the Tiger Strike Force was stationed. The first thing he noticed was a flag fluttering in the wind. The flag had the now familiar tiger head logo. Peggy and the others looked at the tiger head symbol in awe, especially when they felt its overwhelming presence. They were inspired by it and fell silent. 5 celestial stage martial warriors were standing guard at the door. They frowned when they saw Wang Ting and the others. Why are there so many people here? One of them walked over and was about to chase them away when he suddenly noticed Wang Ting's uniform. His expression changed right after. Are you the new commander? The martial warrior saluted and asked respectfully. Wang Ting nodded. The martial warrior quickly saluted again and shouted loudly, Greetings, Commander. Captain Sun Juandar from Tiger Strike Forces Team 13-inch. Wang Ting felt helpless. He could only return the salute. Commander, everyone is waiting for you at the field, Sun Juandar said. Take me there. Wang Ting nodded. They are, asked Sun Juandar in a hesitant tone as he was about to lead the way, all while looking at Peggy and the others. They are my subordinates. Wang Ting didn't say much, merely stating the fact and moving forward. Sun Juandar hesitated to speak, but he could only sigh from the bottom of his heart. He could tell what the new commander was trying to do. However, such a move was somewhat against the rules, and the other deputy commanders wouldn't agree to it. Still, he was but a small captain and couldn't speak his mind. He didn't know this commander well yet. It wouldn't be good if he left a bad impression. A new chief would bring in new aides. Going forward, the new commander would have the highest rank in their force. He couldn't afford to provoke him. Sun Juandar could only keep his mouth shut and lead the way obediently. There was a small field at the Tiger Strike Forces camp. 5,000 people waited there, while 5 deputy regimental commanders stood in front as they talked about something. Huichia, I heard you got beaten up badly by the new commander. Is he that strong? A burly man asked. Huichia's face turned black instantly. The bastard was rubbing salt on his wounds. He could feel the back of his head hurt when he recalled the scene from 3 days prior. That wasn't all. He was humiliated. A 7th-level martial warrior at the Cosmos stage like him was beaten to a pulp by a Celestial stage martial warrior. It was a source of great shame and a dark chapter in the story of his life. Now, he felt that everyone was talking about him wherever he went. It was extremely uncomfortable. His resentment toward Wang Ting was deep. The humiliation grew after his comrades brought up the subject. He glared at them and snorted coldly. You can give it a try if you're curious. Hehe, I'm not a fool. I'd be a walk in a park for him if he was able to defeat you. There was a glimmer in the burly man's eyes as he spoke on the sly. Don't be a coward, Wei Tong. You're boosting other people's morale and destroying your own courage, said another martial warrior with red scales on his face and fiery red hair. A middle-aged man who was resting his eyes cautioned, Marley, I know you're not convinced. You must have been upset when the commander recommended Huichia and not you. You must be furious since Huichia lost and an inexperienced fellow took the commander position. I have to warn you, though, don't mess around. That's right. He's our official commander already. It'll be useless, even if you're unconvinced. Wei Tong pouted. You don't have to worry about me. I know what I'm doing, Marley said calmly. Hez here, said a female warrior, who was the first to notice the group of people coming from afar. She wasn't taking part in the conversation. Wei Tong and the others quickly shut their mouths and looked into the distance. A group of people led by a young man walked over. He was wearing the commander's garb with a calm expression. That face of his was too young. Chapter 1261 Single-handedly suppressing a team. All the martial warriors in the field looked at the approaching figure. They were curious about what their new regiment commander looked like. Many rumors had been passed around over the past few days, most of them regarding Wang Teng and Huichia's battle. Huichia was defeated by a landslide. They heard that their new regiment commander was ruthless, so they were all extremely careful. No one wanted to offend him on the first day. They finally saw the person in the flesh. Young. Insanely young. He looked like a freshly enrolled newbie in the military, not the famous regiment commander of the Tiger Strike Force. They couldn't link Wang Ting's image and the commander role. The latter walked in and glanced around. Sun Juandar quickly ran forward and said to Wei Tong and the others, deputy regimental commanders, this is our new commander. Wang Teng and the others had already noticed the official attire, so they stepped forward and saluted. Commander. Only Marley seemed a little unwilling. There was doubt in his gaze, but he still went through the motions. You're too polite. I'm new here and will need a lot of guidance from you in the future. Wang Ting saluted back and smiled. They heaved relieved sighs when realizing that their leader was easygoing. You're too kind, said the only female martial warrior among the deputy regimental commanders with a smile. You must be Commander Jaira. Wang Ting looked at her and smiled back. You recognize me? Jaira exclaimed with delight. I've read through your information, Wang Teng explained. That means we don't have to introduce ourselves, a middle-aged man chimed in. Deputy Phone Gang. Wang Teng recognized him immediately. He looked at the others and called their respective names. Once he reached the last person, he paused for a second and said, Deputy Huichia, how's your injury? The other deputy regimental commanders gloated as they looked at the fellow. Thank you for your concern. I'm fine, Huichia said sternly. Wang Teng smiled and said, You're very powerful. I went a little hard on you that day because I forgot to hold back. I hope you don't mind. The corners of Huichia's mouth twitched. A little hard. Aren't you aware of how heavy-handed you were that day? He didn't seem to be complimenting Huichia, it was more like self-praise. The other deputy regimental commanders chuckled silently in their hearts when they noticed Huichia's frustration. Huichia took a deep breath and replied, I admit my defeat. I won't take it to heart. That's good. We're comrades from now on, so I hope no grudges come between us. Wang Teng gave him a meaningful look before turning to the others. His gaze paused on Marley. There were no expressions on the latter's face, as he merely stared at the ground. Commander, do you want to say a few words since the entire force is here? Wei Tong asked. All right, let me say a few simple words. Wang Teng nodded. He walked onto the platform with Wei Tong and the others in tow. He looked down and saw the 5,000 celestial stage martial warriors properly lined up at ground level. They gave off a thick and ferocious aura, just like a prone wild tiger. Their presence was oppressive. As Wang Ting sized them up, the martial warriors suddenly tapped their feet in unison and greeted him loudly. The ground shook and their voices resounded in the sky. Commander. Their aura exploded in full, mixing to blast toward their new leader. Come and read on our website Wuxia World Site. Thanks, the combined aura of 5,000 martial warriors was terrifying. A normal martial warrior could pale in front of such pressure, not even daring to speak. Wei Tong and the others stared at Wang Teng. They weren't waiting for him to flounder, but they wanted to see how strong their new commander was. All of them would stay unconvinced if he couldn't resist their collective aura. An opening gambit. That was the welcoming gift the Tiger Strike Force had prepared. It was a common act in any powerful troop. This was a means to display their strength to their superiors, as well as to test the new commander's ability and courage. Peggy and the others were appalled, their faces turning slightly pale as they were shocked by the aura. They looked at Wang Ting in worry. Should the fellow make a fool of himself, he would have a difficult time managing those fierce tigers in the future. He would probably be forced to leave a couple of days later. Such a thing had occurred before. Renowned, powerful troops weren't easy to handle. Wang Teng remained calm under everyone's gazes. Suddenly, a powerful aura erupted from his body. Boom! There was an intense killing intent hidden within the aura, gushing out of his body and charging at the martial warriors below. The 5,000 martial warriors turned pale and their auras collapsed. They were flabbergasted, words getting stuck in their mouths. What a strong aura! Even the deputy regimental commanders couldn't help but take an involuntary step back. They stared at Wang Teng's back in bewilderment. They stood extremely close to their new leader, so they had to withstand a much greater pressure than the martial warriors below. Marley squinted, all his confidence shattering at that moment. He clenched his fists for a long time, but then released them dejectedly. Peggy and the others stared at Wang Ting in disbelief. Although they weren't experiencing the aura blast, they noticed the change in expressions on everyone's faces. He managed to suppress 5,000 celestial stage martial warriors on his own. What kind of concept was that? They felt that what they knew of Wang Ting wasn't deep enough, it barely scratched the surface. That wasn't an aura that a normal martial warrior could have. It was likely that not even a Cosmos stage martial warrior would have that capability. What did he go through? Wang Teng would be rendered speechless if he knew what was going through their minds. They were thinking too much. He didn't go through any special experiences. He had just collected more bubbles. The new leader kept on releasing his aura for some time. There was no sign of it dispersing anytime soon. Everyone realized that the tides had turned. At first, they were the ones testing Wang Teng, but now, he was the one testing them. Wei Tong and the others looked at one another with forced smiles. Wang Ting then gave the group a smile of approval and said, "Not bad." Once he said that, the pressure above everyone's heads disappeared as if it never existed. Everyone heaved sighs of relief. Then, they felt a little helpless. They were only not bad in the eyes of their new commander. Wei Tong and the others felt troubled as well. Their new commander was too powerful, so much so that they couldn't raise their heads. Hu Qia was entirely convinced, finally understanding the power gap between them. It wasn't just his ability, he would never be able to create such pressure. Everyone looked at Wang Ting with admiration and respect. Chapter 1262 Out for Battle, Tiger Strike Force. Wang Ting knew he had achieved his objective when he saw the change in everyone's gazes. They had tried to ruffle his feathers. The Tiger Strike Force had never experienced a beating. Wang Ting flashed a mental smirk while still showing a calm expression. He looked at everyone and said, "I'm very glad to be able to command the Tiger Strike Force. I'm satisfied to experience your spirit today. You didn't disappoint me." Hu Qia and the others were speechless. They felt that the Tiger Strike Force was being looked down upon. Their leader had just said that he was satisfied. His expression was too calm, making it look like he was complimenting an ordinary squad, not the renowned Tiger Strike Force. None of them refute him, though. Wang Ting had the capital to act in such a manner. Their pride was shattered in the face of absolute strength. Wang Ting said slowly, "I'm an easygoing person. I will reward those who are worthy while giving due punishment to those who deserve it. I won't be stingy either. If the credit is yours, it's yours. I won't take any of it away from you, and I would never bother to do so. But, if anyone does something wrong, don't blame me for being unkind. So, everyone, please don't cross my bottom line." The last sentence sent chills to the crowd. They looked at his calm face and compared him to the rumors. It wasn't easy to deal with someone who had the power to be ruthless to Deputy Regimental Commander Hu Qia. At this moment, they truly saw their new commander as a strong person. None of them dared to underestimate him. That is all. From now on, we will be comrades. We will drink, eat, and bleed together. Wang Ting smiled. The atmosphere on the field relaxed a little. Wang Ting waved his hand and said, "All right, if there's nothing else, disperse. There will be a mission later, go back and prepare." Mission? Hu Qia and the others were surprised. However, none of them attempted to probe further since Wang Ting didn't say much. "Commander, let us show you around the place." Deputy Regimental Commander Jaira smiled. "Let's leave that for later. The higher-ups have given me orders to recover the fallen 13th frontline once I take over as commander," Wang Ting said in a deep voice. The 13th frontline. Hu Qia and the others were stunned. No wonder. I saw Raging Bear and Red Scorpion squads setting off 2 days ago. Almost all of the main forces have gone to the frontlines, Fenggang said. I heard we lost 3 of our frontlines. It matches the number, Jaira commented. Great, it's time for the Tiger Strike Force to shine again. Wei Tong rubbed his palms excitedly. Commander, please give us your orders quickly. We're already 2 days behind. Hu Qia, Mali, and the others looked over. Their eyes were filled with battle thirst, clearly ready for action. Let's get ready then. Wang Ting smiled. Yes, well, gather the teams immediately. Wei Tong was agitated. Damn, we must give the dark apparitions a good beating this time. How long will it take? Wang Ting asked. About half a day, Fenggang replied. Okay. Wang Ting nodded. Oh right, include my subordinates as well. They will be participating in this mission. Hu Qia and the others had already noticed Peggy's group and guessed his commander's intent. They only hesitated for a bit before agreeing to it. The newly arrived martial warriors weren't weak, and would be considered good fighters amongst the celestial stage martial warriors present. Furthermore, they had experienced many battles under Wang Ting, and probably had been acknowledged by the latter. On top of that, Wang Ting had just assumed the commander role, and it was but a small request. They were willing to do him a favor. And so, The matter of Peggy and the others joining the Tiger Strike Force was settled with just one sentence. The deputy regimental commanders left in a hurry. The entire Tiger Strike Force began to gather quickly. Peggy and the others were also incorporated into the Tiger Strike Force, forming a small team of their own with Arwen as captain. Peggy still acted as Wang Teng's adjutant. Time passed quickly. Half a day went by just as Feng Gang estimated. In fact, not even half a day had passed for everyone to be prepared and ready to go, assembling on the field once again. Red Scorpion, Raging Bear, and Tiger Strike Force were well-known and intensely competitive military squads. Since all of them had been deployed, they had to compete for superiority. How would they compare? It depended on who fought the most beautiful battle with the least number of casualties, and the fastest to complete their missions. Red Scorpion and Raging Bear had departed 2 days earlier, and virtually the whole Tiger Strike Force was anxious. All they wanted was to head to the 13th front line. Wang Teng was wearing the commander's special battle armor. The majestic tiger on his chest seemed to be roaring to the skies. He took to the air and floated in front of all the martial warriors of the Tiger Strike Force. Everyone, this is my first battle acting as the Tiger Strike Force's commander. There is no room for failure, and we must fight splendidly. Wang Teng's calm voice wasn't loud, but it echoed in the sky and reached everyone's ears clearly. Tiger Strike, victory. Tiger Strike, victory. Tiger Strike, victory. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. 5,000 martial warriors shouted in unison. Their voices echoed in the sky, and their morale was sky high. It was the first time for Arwen and the others. Their blood boiled with enthusiasm when they felt such camaraderie. They joined in the shouting. Wang Teng looked at the members of the Tiger Strike Force and understood the origin of their name. One of the corners of his mouth rose a bit, making a smile. May martial arts flourish. Let's go. Everyone boarded the Tiger Strike Force's dedicated battlecraft that was docked at the side according to their teams, Tiger Strike 8. There were a total of 50 vessels, and each could fit 100 people. Those ships were considered small, more suitable for internal operations on the planet. Tiger Strike 8's body was dark red, and was equipped with a large amount of heavy weaponry. You could see a cannon in every direction. It had a ferocious appearance, like a terrifying war monster. Wang Teng and the deputy regimental commanders set sail on the main battlecraft, which was escorted by a squadron as they headed toward the 13th front line. The 50 ships turned into streaks of red light and disappeared into the horizon. It was a scene that drew the attention of a large number of martial warriors as they looked up. Look at the logo. It's the Tiger Strike Force. There's more than 50 of them. Were their entire forces dispatched? They are heading toward the fallen 13th front line. Are they going to recover it? The Tiger Strike Force should be under the command of that new fellow, Major Wang Teng. I don't know if they'll succeed. I hope everything goes well. Many people already knew about the change in the Tiger Strike Force. Everyone was worried and hopeful when they saw them mobilize. Many knew about Wang Teng's achievements, especially when he returned from the third front line. His reputation was definitely on the rise, yet he still was a newcomer and had no experience in leading a squad. It was natural for people to worry. Di Chi was standing in front of his team. He had almost recovered and was about to go on a new mission. The previous deployment had a great impact on him, especially when he saw that Wang Ting had already started to take command of the Tiger Strike Force. It was impossible for him not to envy him. Di Chi was feeling troubled at the moment. He entered the military much earlier than Wang Ting and made a lot of contributions. Still, Wang Teng overtook him in the end. The latter's status in the military was much higher than his now. It was embarrassing. He had rejected Wang Ting's invitation to join the Tiger Strike Force. There was his own pride and he wanted to rely on his own strength to gain more power, to later catch up with Wang Teng again. He looked up to the sky and watched the Tiger Strike Force setting off. He seemed to mark out Wang Teng's figure as well. After taking a deep breath, he murmured in his heart, "Wang Teng, you have to fight splendidly in this battle. Don't let others take you lightly." "Captain, should we set off?" a martial warrior asked. "Yes. Let's go." Di retracted his gaze and boarded the battlecraft before soaring into the sky. At the top of the buildings where Veblen's laboratory was located, Moira stood at the edge of their building and looked at the sky. "If you're worried, why don't you send him off?" said an approaching voice behind her. "Master." Moira saw Veblen walking over and smiled. "I'm not worried, I just came out to get some air." "Lies." Veblen shook his head and looked into the sky. "There's nothing to be worried about, though. That kid is cunning as a fox and as strong as a demon. The battle won't stop him." "Master, you think highly of him." "SOSO." Veblen pouted. "I just haven't seen anyone as interesting as him in a long time. Is it okay to let him go to the Light Velvet planet?" Moira asked. "Actually, I hope he can help the Light Velvet race. I was right all along." Moira smiled. "You clever little devil." Veblen laughed. Back in the Central Command building, a smile appeared on General Cameron's serious face as he looked up. "This brat has finally willing to go." He gave Wang Tung 3 days to prepare. At first he thought that the boy wouldn't be able to sit still on the first day, ending up rushing to the 13th frontline. He didn't expect him to really hold out till the last day. Wang Tung was really calm. The man just didn't know if the young fellow would give him a surprise. Adjutant Song stood next to General Cameron and was surprised when he noticed his leader's expression. "It looks like General Cameron thinks highly of Major Wang Ting. How's the situation with Red Scorpion and Raging Bear?" General Cameron asked. "Both squads have reached the 9th and 17th frontline respectively, and had their first wave of attacks. However, they failed to break through the Dark Apparition's defenses," Adjutant Song replied hurriedly. "Keep paying attention to this. Report as soon as possible if there's any news." General Cameron nodded and went back to his office with a blank expression. Chapter 1263 Lightning Ground. The 13th Frontline. The place was located in the northwest region of the number 29 defense planet, right on top of a canyon. It was a strategic location to stop the invasion of dark apparitions. The location was easy to defend but hard to invade. However, the 13th Frontline fell after holding on for half a day during the previous war. Many reinforcements were sent but to no avail. Many martial warriors died there, staining the canyon with their blood. Most of the forces managed to retreat in time but the losses were heavy. The canyon was formerly known as the Angoro Grand Canyon before the number 29 defense planet was invaded by dark apparitions. It was a beautiful and majestic holiday destination. However, it was currently drenched in blood. The soil and rocks turned a black-brown color, giving off a thick stench. Once the dark apparitions overran that defense line, a large number of their low-ranking specters started wandering around the canyon, expanding their territory. 6,000 meters away, 50 battlecrafts stopped and observed the 13th defense line from afar. Wang Teng and his deputy regimental commander stood in front of the control panel. The defense line status was being displayed there. Images kept changing, showing everyone present a clear picture of the current condition. The atmosphere in the battlecraft tensed up. "There are at least 70,000 low-rank dark apparitions," Huichia said grimly. "Those are just low-ranked apparitions. The powerful ones are hiding inside the base," Deputy Wei Tong added. "Based on the available information, the high-rank members roaming this defense line are of the vampire type, of low-tier Devil Emperor stage. No mid-tier Devil Emperors have been detected," Deputy Jireh explained. "Low-tier Devil Emperor." Wang Teng was surprised. "Are you sure this defense base was overtaken by low-tier Devil Emperors? What stage was the commander in charge of this base?" "Yes, they're just low-tier Devil Emperors. This is the video feed of the battle. It was sent back to the base just in time. You can take a look." Deputy Jireh tapped on the screen and a video started playing. An intense battle appeared before Wang Teng. The latter watched it carefully. His gaze landed on a vampire being with a powerful aura. Just from the video reference, he could tell it was low-tiered. Furthermore, the previous commander of the 13th Frontline, Lu Gaoga, had verbally expressed his opponent's ability. However, its battle ability was terrifying, managing to hold the commander back during the final explosive stage. It had to be noted that Lu Gaoge was a Heaven Stage martial warrior, only at the beginner level but Heaven Stage no less. Even so, the low-tier Devil Emperor managed to force him to retreat. This showed how powerful the dark apparition was. Hu Qia and the others became more serious after seeing the video. Major General Lu Gaoge was powerful, but he had no advantages when facing the dark apparition. It was likely that neither of them would be a match if they encountered the being. Well, they would probably have a chance to hold him back if the 5 deputies acted at the same time. However, that wasn't the only one of them. It would be unrealistic to have the 5 deputies handle a single low-tier Devil Emperor. Suddenly, they remembered that they had a monster on their side, too. Their ally was even more astonishing than the other in comparison. That low-tier vampire dark apparition had fought a Heaven Stage martial warrior, yet Wang Ting killed a mid-tier Devil Emperor, while being a Celestial Stage martial warrior. Hu Qia and the others looked at Wang Ting. They went to study his battle at the third front line, only to conclude he was indeed powerful. It wasn't a battle won by luck. Why are you all looking at me? Wang Ting was analyzing the battle video when he noticed his deputies staring at him. Cough. Wei Tong coughed awkwardly and asked, "Commander, can you tackle that dark apparition? Are you all planning to make me handle him on my own?" Wang Ting felt speechless. "Commander, you're very powerful. A low-tier Devil Emperor will be a piece of cake for you," Hu Qia said. "I highly suspect that you're taking revenge." Wang Ting glanced at him from the corner of his eye. "No, I'm not that kind of person," Hu Qia replied with a poker face. "I don't believe you." Wang Ting rolled his eyes. He didn't know that the stern-looking fellow could lie with a straight face. He had the wrong impression of him. "You can't judge a book by its cover. Commander, I think you can deal with that apparition with the ultimate move you used in the third front line," Fenggang said. "Fenggang, do you think our commander can't handle that vampire dark apparition?" Deputy Jireh laughed. "Huh? What do you mean?" Fenggang was confused. "Our commander is just being humble," the tall and muscular Wei Tong said with a chuckle. There was a smart glimmer in his eyes. Fenggang was speechless. "Am I the only one who believed it?" "Stupid," Marley said indifferently. Fenggang didn't mind. He glanced at Wang Ting bitterly. "All right, I'll take care of that vampire apparition." Wang Ting hurriedly shifted his eyes away. He couldn't handle the deadly glare of a middle-aged man. That being the case, we'll have time to tackle the rest of the low-tier Devil Emperors, Wei Tong said. "Before taking action, we need to come up with a plan. Charging straight to clash with the deputy regimental commanders isn't a smart decision," Deputy Jireh said. "Yes." Wang Ting nodded. He turned and spoke to Peggy, who had been quiet thus far. "Peggy, come and join our discussion. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site." "Thanks me." Peggy had barely entered the Tiger Strike Force and her contribution slate was clean. She was indeed Wang Teng's adjutant, but she was still a newbie. That is why she had not attempted to butt in the conversation. She was equally shocked and touched when she heard Wang Ting calling her over. He was clearly giving her a chance to perform. Jireh, Hu Qia, and the others realized his intention. Hence, they gave her a knowing look when they saw Peggy's approach. Wei Tong and Fenggang even gave Wang Ting an ambiguous smile. They were stunned by her beauty at their first meeting. She was like a snow flower blooming in winter, elegant, refined, and beautiful. Her cold aura prevented people from getting close, but their desire to conquer this ice queen was aroused. Any man would love such a lady. She was a rare breed in the military. No wonder Wang Ting kept her close. Wei Tong and the other men were envious, feeling that they had squandered their time in the military. How could they not know of such a beauty? "What's with that gaze?" Wang Ting glared at his subordinates. Peggy also noticed their expressions. A tinge of red appeared on her white ears. "Cough, let's get back to business." Jireh coughed and saved Peggy from the embarrassment. "Right, let's get back to business," Wei Tong agreed readily. Everyone retracted their gazes, not daring to look at her anymore. If Wang Ting got angry, he could deliberately make things hard for them. Peggy turned serious. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, Then, she tapped on the screen and an image appeared. Everyone looked at her curiously, wondering what she was thinking. I did some research on the Angoro Grand Canyon prior to this meeting. The local weather has changed for some reason, turning the entire canyon into a lightning ground every 3 months. Lightning strikes gather in this area, Peggy explained. Everyone seemed to understand what she meant. So? Jaira asked with interest. This adjutant isn't a brainless beauty. Wang Tung smiled. He sat down on the host seat and gave Peggy a look of encouragement. Good job. As expected of my person. The dark apparitions fear lightning. We can make use of the lightning to catch the dark apparitions off guard. This way we can be victorious with less effort, Peggy said firmly. Her confidence grew after seeing Wang Teng's gaze. This is a good idea. Deputy Jaira looked at Wang Teng and smiled. We'll need to build a large-scale lightning array if we want to attract more lightning. The array must be powerful or it will explode with the pressure from all that lightning. How strong is the lightning there? Wang Teng asked. Based on past records, we'll need a 5th-rank Grandmaster level lightning array, Peggy replied instantly. She had made ample preparations. Wang Teng nodded and asked, Good. Does anyone have any questions? 5th-rank Grandmaster level? I wonder if the Rune Master in our force can handle this. Jaira hesitated. Let them try. If they can't, I'll do it, Wang Teng replied indifferently. You? Hu Chia and the others stared at him in surprise. I forgot to tell you that I have some understanding of runes and managed to become a Grandmaster, Wang Teng replied casually. Some understanding? Everyone was astounded. It's the Grandmaster level. Not everyone could become one. His attitude was a little too light-hearted. Peggy looked at Wang Ting speechlessly. She came up with the plan but she didn't know that Wang Ting was a rune Grandmaster. This was too hard to believe. She wondered what other surprises Wang Ting had for her. Commander, are you kidding? Wei Tong asked with uncertainty. Look at my face. Don't I look serious? Wang Ting asked. Not really, Wei Tong replied honestly. Go away. Wang Teng kicked him angrily. Is he blind? Can't he see how serious I am? Wei Tong felt wronged. He was being honest and he got kicked. What's more, he couldn't dodge. How pitiful. Everyone burst out laughing. All right, go and make preparations. Wang Teng waved his hands. Yes. Everyone was quick to reply. Setting up the array wasn't an issue, since Wang Teng was a rune Grandmaster. That piece of news gave them much confidence. Chapter 1264 Mystic Heaven Lightning Sword Array. Every 3 months, the Angoro Grand Canyon would become a land of lightning. Bolts would fall from the sky and gather in the canyon, making the entire area an electrical forbidden zone. However, the lightning wouldn't exist forever, it would gradually dissipate after 4 or 5 days. What Wang Ting wanted to do was seize that window of opportunity. 2 months and 27 days had passed since the previous lightning storm. This meant that he only had 3 to 4 days to set up the array. It was precisely because of the timing that Peggy made the suggestion. However, 3 days was a bit short. Setting up a Grandmaster-level rune array in 3 days was too hasty. Still, there was no other way. They could only try their best to complete it. Suppressing the dark apparitions with the help of rune arrays was definitely a huge advantage. They couldn't just give up like that. Being an elite squad, the Tiger Strike Force was well equipped and staffed. There were at least 10 rune masters in their ranks. The 10 rune masters gathered in front of Wang Teng at the moment. They already knew the reason why they were summoned. They would be tasked with setting up a 5th-rank Grandmaster-level rune array to suppress the dark apparitions. In all honesty, they found it hard to believe when they heard the decision. Asking a group of rune masters to complete a 5th-rank Grandmaster-level rune array was a bit too much for them. Even a 1st-rank Grandmaster-level array would be extremely difficult for them. Their success rate would be less than 10%. Gorling and the others endured headaches the time Wang Ting and Gorlin set up the Thousand Thunder Annihilation Array, and it wasn't even a Grandmaster work. Back then, Gorlin was about to reach the Grandmaster level and was an accomplished individual overall. In the end, it was barely completed by gathering the power of all the rune masters from the Xingwu continent. Of course, Wang Ting helped out a lot. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been that simple. Sending 10 rune masters to complete a 5th-rank Grandmaster level array was a joke. It didn't even matter if they had grown up in the universe and had great accomplishments in their fields, being better than Gorlin and the others. A master and a Grandmaster were worlds apart. Gyra and the others didn't know the difference between those ranks. They even thought that tasking those 10 rune masters to complete a 5th-rank Grandmaster level rune array was valid. However, those experts were well aware of their capabilities. They really couldn't do something like that. The rune masters were silenced by exasperation. They were still a bit timid when facing their new commander. Moreover, it was their first mission with him. If they said no, it was equivalent to slapping his face. Wang Ting wouldn't beat them to their deaths, would he? Wang Ting looked around and said, "The purpose of bringing everyone here is to set up the Mystic Heaven Lightning Sword Array." Such an array was one of the few of the lighting kind he had just found in the Secondary Career Alliance. The array was able to condense the power of lightning and turn into thousands of lightning swords before raining down on their enemies. That kind of power was simply terrifying. In terms of attack power, the array was placed first amongst the 5th-rank Grandmaster level rankings. When Wang Ting did things, he would always do his best, otherwise, he wouldn't even act. That was why he chose the Mystic Heaven Lightning Sword Array without any hesitation. What? Mystic Heaven Lightning Sword Array. The rune masters were astonished when they heard the name. Although they hadn't seen it before, they had heard that it was one of the most difficult among arrays of 5th-rank Grandmaster level. They mainly knew about it because of its reputation. Wang Ting actually wanted to set up such a complicated rune array. They suddenly wanted to cry. Too difficult. It's too difficult. Those who were clueless were the terrifying ones. They really wanted to complain, but they didn't dare to when they saw Wang Ting's calm face. This new commander was quite fierce. Only one of the rune masters showed a different expression. He was a little anxious. He took a step back and hid behind the group, as if trying to avoid Wang Ting's sight. The latter glanced over and saw him, then frowned. "That rune master over there, have we met somewhere before?" The eluded trembled all over and stood up awkwardly with a bitter face. "Grandmaster Wang Ting. Grandmaster Wang Ting." The other rune masters looked at Wang Ting in astonishment. They then looked at the rune master who spoke. "Isn't he the commander? Why is he now a grandmaster?" Everyone was confused. They hadn't realized what was going on. Is Master too nervous that he spoke wrongly? He's so young. How's it possible that he's a grandmaster? "So it was you," Wang Ting said. That was the rune master he had met when he first went to the Great Qian planet to participate in the Grandmaster level assessment of the Secondary Career Alliance. Moreover, he had a little feud with Master Fan Tining and wanted to give him some trouble when he learned that Wang Ting was brought over by his rival. Turns out he targeted the wrong person. Later, he immediately packed his things and ran when he heard that Wang Ting had passed 3 Grandmaster assessments, fearing that Wang Ting would make life difficult for him. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, as reality would have it, Wang Ting had already forgotten about him. He wouldn't bother about a mere rune master. Meanwhile, Master Pittman arrived at the number 29 defense planet after leaving the Great Qian planet and even joined the Tiger Strike Force as a rune master. Although the region was dangerous, he was treated better when compared to other places. Pittman was also ambitious. He was hoping to gain some accomplishments so he could reach the Grandmaster level sooner. If he attained his goal, Wang Ting would be unable to move against him, even if he returned to the Great Qian planet. If both were Grandmasters, the Secondary Career Alliance would also provide him with enough protection and he would have the confidence to stand in front of Wang Ting. Who would have thought that he would still bump into the fellow after going to such a remote place? He wasn't a Grandmaster yet. It wasn't enough. His heart sank the moment Wang Ting recognized him. He was finished. Wang Ting still had the upper hand on the defense planet number 29. Being the commander of the Tiger Strike Force, Wang Ting had ways to deal with him. "Master Pittman seems to be afraid of me. Wang Tung smiled lightly. No, no. Cold sweat broke out on Pittman's forehead. All right. I won't give you any trouble for such a trivial matter. Wang Tung shook his head and didn't bother about him. If anyone has any suggestions or ideas, please speak freely. Pittman heaved a sigh of relief, although he still felt a little bitter. He was thinking too much. He was the clown. Grandmaster Wang Tung didn't even care about him. Everyone exchanged glances when they heard Wang Tung's words. Commander, are you really a Grandmaster? A Rune Master asked. That's right. I'll be the main person setting up the array. All of you will be supporting me. Wang Tung nodded. Gasp. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Good, good. They would just be there for support. Although Wang Tung's identity shocked them, it was still a good thing to have a Grandmaster present. Otherwise, they would really be embarrassed later. Hua Qia and the others realized they had the wrong impression when overhearing the conversation between Wang Tung and the Rune Masters. A 5th-rank Grandmaster level array wasn't that easy to complete. Even if 10 Rune Masters joined forces, it would be useless. They were very fortunate since Wang Tung was a Grandmaster. Otherwise, they wouldn't even know where to start to set it up. There was only one Grandmaster on Defense Planet number 29. He was stationed at the main base and it was impossible for him to offer help. Peggy was also a little surprised. Although she checked the information in advance and knew that the 5th-rank Grandmaster level rune array could accommodate the lightning storm's power, she didn't know how difficult it was to prepare. Her idea would have been just empty talk without Wang Tung present. All right, that is all. Everyone will follow me to scout the terrain and prepare to set up the rune array, Wang Tung ordered. Roger, the 10 Rune Masters quickly responded. Regardless of whether Wang Tung was the Tiger Strike Force's commander or a Grandmaster, none of the Rune Masters dared to show the slightest neglect. Commander, do you need us to tag along? Deputy Gyra asked worriedly. To reach the canyon, Wang Tung's group would have to pass by the 13th front line. They would be surrounded by dark apparitions if discovered. No. It's easier for me to tackle them on my own. Movement will be affected if there's too many people, Wang Tung said, and I need all of you here to take charge. There cannot be any problems. Understood. Hua Qia and the others nodded. Wang Tung stopped there and led the Rune Masters quietly as they lurked towards the Angoro Grand Canyon. In the eyes of Hua Qia and the others, Wang Tung seemed to have disappeared completely. Even his aura was concealed, they couldn't detect his position, at all. They looked at each other with eyes full of shock. They were worried about Wang Tung's safety for nothing. Given his capabilities, he could freely come and go as he wished. Wang Tung on the other hand didn't know what they were thinking. He was already in the middle of the Angoro Grand Canyon with the Rune Masters. He completely concealed the group's collective aura to avoid being detected by the dark apparitions. There were many low-rank dark apparitions in the canyon, but they weren't a threat to them. Wang Tung didn't kill them, merely ordering the Rune Masters to avoid them and complete their respective tasks, letting sleeping dogs lie. After some observation, everyone chose a suitable place and immediately began setting up the array. Wang Tung was responsible for the array's core while the rest were in charge of the inscriptions on the edge. It wasn't a difficult thing for them. On top of that, their leader would take some time to check on their progress and sometimes point out their mistakes, which greatly reduced the difficulty. The Rune Masters felt greatly benefited by the experience. It was rare for them to receive pointers from a Grandmaster. Most of them were just ordinary Rune Masters without any background, never encountering Grandmasters in their daily lives. It was all thanks to the Tiger Strike Force that they were able to receive guidance from an expert. Pittman felt bitter when he finally ascertained the gap between himself and Wang Tung. When it came to runes, the best would take the lead. Wang Tung was young, but his level of attainment was beyond reach. The bitter Rune Master felt that even if he could rise and become a Grandmaster himself, he could never be up to par. Pittman finally believed that Wang Tung wouldn't give him any trouble. He might not even have entered Wang Tung's mind. How could the fellow even think of making trouble for him? 3 days passed in the midst of such intensive preparations. Chapter 1265 Wait. 3 days passed quickly. Without any ruckus, the Mystic Heaven Lightning Sword array was completed. The time it took was shorter than expected. Pittman and the other rune masters were flabbergasted, finding the situation unbelievable. They had the honor of partaking in the construction of the 5th-rank Grandmaster level array, and experienced how hard it was firsthand. However, the whole process was extremely smooth. So smooth in fact, that the job was completed before they knew it. The 10 rune masters started to view Wang Ting in a different light. Not many rune grandmasters had such a level of mastery. Most importantly, he was young. Wang Ting took the rune masters back to the battlecraft. Hu Qia and the others were already waiting for him and quickly approached to greet him. "Commander, how did it go?" Feng Gang asked, feeling agitated. The others looked at their leader with anticipation. "It's done. All we have to do is to wait for the lightning to come." Wang Ting stared at the sky and smiled. Everyone felt elated and astounded at the same time. They succeeded. The Mystic Heaven Lightning Sword array was an extremely difficult 5th-rank endeavor, with a high failure rate, which had them worrying for the past few days. They only had one chance. If they failed, they would need to fight the dark apparitions face-on. They couldn't wait another 3 months. If that happened, the number of casualties would go beyond their expectations. Fortunately, Wang Ting succeeded. He gained more of their favor this time. "That's great. We can give the dark apparitions a huge surprise with this array." Wei Tong sniggered. "Prepare yourselves. The lightning will come at any moment," Wang Ting said. "Don't worry. Our martial warriors are always ready," Deputy Jireh replied. "Don't be so tense. The real battle hasn't started," Wang Ting said with a smile. Yes, everyone responded with smiles. The atmosphere became more relaxed. Knowing the array was there gave them much confidence. "How's Red Scorpion and Raging Bear?" Wang Ting asked. They launched their second wave of attacks over the past few days and destroyed more than 30,000 dark apparitions. "The results are striking," Hu Qia said with shining eyes. "Looks like they can't wait anymore." Wang Ting smiled. 3 forces were dispatched together, so competition is inevitable. Marley snorted. They paid a great price too, though. Many of their elite martial warriors were sacrificed. "We have better odds of winning," Jireh added. Wang Ting nodded. A sharp glint appeared in his eyes. It was up to heaven to decide if they could win the battle beautifully. Meanwhile, General Cameron received news of the 3 troops. He knew their progress clearly. "I expected Red Scorpion and Raging Bear to act." As for Tiger Strike, General Cameron shook his head. "They haven't moved in 3 days. What are they waiting for?" The general would not meddle in the 3 forces' battle plans. Hence, he wouldn't ask too much. He only wanted results. But, he was starting to become curious about Wang Ting's plans. Why did he stay put? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Is he afraid? Or does he have other plans? Continue watching them, General Cameron ordered. The latter wasn't the only one. The few generals with real power, including General Yu Kerry, General Chi Yuanju, and General Kimberly, all of them were keeping a close eye on their battles. They were being especially attentive towards the Tiger Strike Force. The new commander, Wang Ting, had great potential. He caught their attention during the fight for commander, so they naturally placed more emphasis on his first mission. They were shocked and puzzled upon learning that the guy had yet to make a move. This made them even more curious and interested. Another day passed. Wang Ting and his subordinates stood on top of their battlecraft, which was parked on the outskirts of the 13th front line. They observed the skies of the Angoro Grand Canyon. Everything was normal. There were no changes. Lightning had yet to appear. The 5 deputy regimental commanders looked at the sky with a frown. However, they weren't the most nervous of the group. It was Peggy. She was the one who came up with the plan. She would no longer have the face to remain in the Tiger Strike Force if a mistake were to occur. Wang Ting placed a hand on Peggy's shoulder and said calmly, "Don't panic. The lightning's arrival can fluctuate. 3 months is just an estimate. It's normal to have a difference of a few days." "Yes." Peggy took a deep breath and nodded. Either way, let's get ready to battle and keep our defenses strong. We've been here for a few days. I believe the dark apparitions already know we're here. They're probably waiting for us to let our guard down, Wang Teng added. Hu Qia and the others were stunned. All their attention was on the array, so they forgot about this matter altogether. This was the best time for the dark apparitions to attack. Everyone waited for lightning to arrive, but the sky remained calm. They could only head back, disappointed. On the fifth day, still no signs of lightning. The atmosphere inside the battlecraft gradually became depressing. Hu Qia and the others grew restless. News came from Red Scorpion and Raging Bear. Victory. That same morning, the two forces broke through the dark apparition ranks and reclaimed the 9th and the 17th front lines. The Red Scorpion force killed more than 80,000 dark apparitions, including 7 low-tier Devil Emperors. They also managed to heavily injure a mid-tier Devil Emperor under the combined effort of their commander and the deputies, forcing the creature to beat a retreat. The Raging Bear force achieved better results. They killed more than 90,000 dark apparitions, including 8 low-tier Devil Emperors, and inflicted heavy injuries on a mid-tier Devil Emperor. Everyone was invigorated when they heard the news. General Cameron was also overjoyed. He gave much praise to the commanders of both forces. After excitement died down, he shifted his gaze to the Tiger Strike force again. The third force had not moved, not even for a single battle. It was hardly justifiable. Everyone wondered if Wang Ting was afraid, not daring to attack. All kinds of voices rose in an instant. Many generals with real power sent messages to ask about the Tiger Strike situation. Hu Qia and the others were stressed. They had never been met with such a case, since the Tiger Strike Force was formed. They didn't know what to do. Commander, I've sent our plan to headquarters, Deputy Gyra walked over and reported. Okay. Wang Teng nodded. Commander, why don't we force our way in? Wei Tong asked after some deliberation. The others also looked over at their leader. Most of them wanted to barge their way in. Only Hu Qia and Gyra hesitated. They didn't want to give up after waiting for so many days. Chapter 1266. A special breed of dark apparition. Wang Teng didn't launch an attack in the end, and only asked his men to wait patiently. He had a feeling that the lightning would land soon. He specially asked Round Ball to look up the days when lightning fell in the past. The time difference was no more than 5 days. This was in relation to both the before and after timing. It had been 2 days, so the lightning would either show up that day or the following. Wang Teng could afford to wait. It was almost impossible for the lightning not to appear. That is, unless the local weather had a complete change. But, weather conditions weren't formed easily, abrupt changes wouldn't take place. How unlucky would they be if this were to happen? Wang Teng didn't believe he was an unlucky person. You're really composed. Round Ball's voice appeared in Wang Teng's mind. It clearly understood what was happening outside, and respected Wang Teng's current calmness for this. Being impatient is pointless. I'm in charge of the lives of all these martial warriors. I can't promise to save all their lives, but I can lower the number of casualties, Wang Teng said indifferently. What about the criticism from the main base? Round Ball asked. The little fellow knew that Wang Teng really wanted to fight the battle properly. The assessment from the people monitoring from the main base would affect the likelihood of promotions in the future, and whether he would be able to be seen by the real bosses of the military. It was just a normal battle in the eyes of Red Scorpion and Raging Bear. To Wang Teng, it had a special significance. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't playing along. Wang Teng was at a disadvantage from the start. Not taking the victories from those two groups into account, they could take their time and wait 2 more days as long as they won in the end. But, having those 2 victories pressing down on them, the Tiger Strike Force was under more pressure. Being the commander, Wang Teng received the most pressure. To hell with their criticism. I'm not afraid of anyone, even if I don't have the backing of the military, said Wang Teng with a snort. Round Ball was stunned. Then, it laughed. It felt that Wang Ting was indeed an interesting fellow. The 5th day passed slowly. No lightning appeared even as dusk arrived. The entire tiger strike force was on tenterhooks. There was a growing feeling of insecurity. Concurrently, within the 13th front line, in what was once the commander's office, an exceptionally handsome young man was sitting on the chair. His face was white, so much so that capillaries could be seen underneath. His lips were as red as blood, and 2 fangs were faintly visible on the corners of his lips. It was a high-ranked vampire dark apparition. He twirled the transparent wine glass he was holding, which contained an unknown crimson liquid. The crimson liquid formed a small whirlpool as he moved the glass. The dashing fellow stared at the liquid in his cup. A faint purple-red glow shimmered in his eyes as he lifted the cup to enjoy the succulent drink. Knock, knock, knock. Knocks were heard on the door. The young man frowned. His interest in the liquid was gone and he said in a cold voice, "Come in." A vampire dark apparition walked in. The latter was also good-looking, but he couldn't be compared to the one in the room. Especially his aura. The vampire dark apparition in the room had an outstanding and noble momentum. He would stand out even if he was thrown into a bunch of his kin. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. The new arrival was frightened. He could hear the unhappiness in the other party's tone and knew he had disturbed the latter. "Sir Torb, I'm really sorry," said the vampire dark apparition with care and bowing. "I will send you to meet our ancestors if you can't give me a satisfactory reason," Torb replied calmly. Cold sweat appeared on the vampire's back. He trembled in fear as he replied, "Sir, the humans have been here for 6 days. Shall we, splat?" Before he finished speaking, a crimson beam of light shot out from Torb's mouth and landed on the other vampire, who instantly melted into a pile of black blood before he could even scream. "Idiot!" The purple-red glow flickered in Torb's eyes as he mumbled to himself, "They're just humans. What's there to be afraid of? Huntington and Joseph have already left. I hope they can hurry up." He got up from his seat and walked to the window. Then, he looked in the direction of the 9th and the 17th front line. On the 6th day, the 5 deputy regimental commanders ran to the top of the battlecraft early in the morning to look at the sky. "Hopefully the heavens will send us some lightning soon so we can go home. I mean, so we can fight with the dark apparitions." Only Wang Ting stayed put in his room, inside the battlecraft. He only came out slowly at around 9 a.m. "Commander, you're really patient." "We can't sit still," Wei Tong said bitterly. "I would also be impatient if it did any good." Wang Ting chuckled. Everyone was speechless. They didn't know that their new commander would be so composed. Is he a happy-go-lucky person or does he have plans up his sleeve? Wang Ting didn't care about their expressions. He looked at the sky and closed his eyes to sense his surroundings. He smiled. "It's here. The lightning is coming." He could sense lightning power congregating in the sky before him using his lightning talent. "Everyone, get in position. I did some calculations and just found that there will be lightning in the afternoon," Wang Ting said. "Did some calculations?" Hu Qia and the others exchanged silent looks. They had a terrible urge to curse. "Do you think you're a fortune teller? Can't you be more reliable at a time like this?" "Commander, don't joke around," said Deputy Gyra with a bitter smile. "I'm not joking," Wang Teng replied calmly. Everyone was stunned. They looked into the sky but they couldn't sense anything, because their skills weren't lightning-based. "Commander, can you sense the lightning force in your surroundings?" Wei Tong exclaimed in surprise. Wang Ting knew they wouldn't believe him unless he gave them some assurance, so he nodded and readily admitted. "You can sense it." Wei Tong was flabbergasted. He could not believe it. It was just a casual remark, but Wang Ting had actually admitted it. What did that mean? Wang Ting was a rare lightning element martial warrior. How else would he have the means to sense lightning force? Hu Qia suddenly remembered that their new leader used a weapon that could harness lightning to defeat him. At first he thought that Wang Ting just had the advantage of having a good weapon, but now, it seemed that he did have the ability. "Let's inform our men and ask them to make preparations." Everyone was motivated, so they hurried to prepare. Chapter 1267 Activation of the Array, Lightning Sword Congregation. The order cascaded down the ranks. All the martial warriors in the Tiger Strike Force were excited. The battle would finally start. They had waited 6 days for that moment. No one was more agitated than them during those 6 days. The dark apparitions were right in front of them, but they couldn't beat them. It felt as if they were next to a naked beauty, but they couldn't move. There was exasperation, especially after hearing the news of Red Scorpion and Raging Bear's victories. They couldn't sit still anymore. An elite group like the Tiger Strike Force had their own sense of honor. It was an honor forged after years of progression under the lead of numerous commanders. Every member had etched that honor deep into their hearts. That was why they placed such huge importance on this. They wouldn't allow themselves to lose to other forces. Finally, Wang Teng released the order for them to attack after 6 days had passed. Everyone was excited, so they hurried to make the necessary preparations. Time passed slowly. Suddenly, dark clouds started gathering above the skies of the Angoro Grand Canyon. The clouds moved in a strange manner, only gathering above the canyon. The other areas were clear. It's here. It's really here. Hu Qia and the others looked up excitedly. Wang Teng didn't lie to them. The lightning did arrive in the afternoon. Wang Teng stood on top of the battlecraft and looked at the dark clouds, too. They felt magical. It was said that such a periodic amassing of lightning phenomenon started after a Heaven Stage lightning element martial warrior fought in the area. Back then, the expert released an ultimate attack and forced all the energy to consolidate there. After the battle, the scene would continue to appear every 3 months. What kind of battle technique was able to change nature? Wang Teng couldn't imagine it. He had yet to see a battle technique of the like. He only knew that the ultimate technique was extraordinary and unique. Looks like I can't underestimate any martial warrior. Wang Teng might have the means to sneak an attack against a Heaven Stage martial warrior, but that didn't mean he was unbeatable. He would still be in trouble if he met a truly powerful martial warrior. Wang Teng gave himself a silent warning. The dark clouds continued to gather for half an hour. The entire sky was black, as if the clouds were hanging right above their heads, creating a gloomy atmosphere. Boom! Suddenly, thunder roared, echoing in the sky. Thunder came without a warning. Hu Qia and the others were shocked by it. Everything was still calm a second prior. The dark clouds were gathering, but there were no signs of lightning. The ominous rumble came out of the blue. It was a scary sound. The thunder itself seemed to be venting a long repressed anger. However, everyone looked over and there were still no signs of lightning. Wang Teng frowned, as the clouds were strange. Fortunately, he could feel the lightning force gathering within them. On the other side, within the 13th front line, Torb walked out of his room and looked up at the sky with a frown. Why did these dark clouds and thunder suddenly appear? Everyone knew that dark apparitions were afraid of lightning. He was a high-ranked being, so he wasn't fearful of lightning. Still, it could suppress his ability to a certain extent. He had an ominous feeling for some reason. "Come in, sir," greeted a vampire apparition respectfully as he ran in. Torb looked at the sky and asked, "Is there anything special about this?" "Sir, this is a special phenomenon that happens once every 3 months. Lightning will gather above the canyon in front of us." "It's not a threat," replied the lesser vampire. "Looks like it's a natural occurrence, given the 3-month period." Torb heaved a sigh of relief. "Be careful with our defense. Pay close attention to those humans. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site." "Thanks, yes. Commander, when are we going to take action?" Wei Tong asked excitedly. "Wait." Wang Teng smiled. "We're still waiting." Wang Teng muttered. Still, he didn't dare to disobey. Hu Qia and the others smiled. They were no longer restless. Lightning clouds arrived just as their leader predicted, so the battle would start soon. They didn't mind waiting a few more minutes. Boom! Thunder resounded in the sky again. This time, they finally saw the lightning. Silver-white bolts spiraled down the sky like silver pythons. Boom! Boom! Soon, thunder and lightning filled up the entire space before them. Thick bolts of lightning crashed down, striking the Angoro Grand Canyon. The discharges were furious and wild. There were only a few at first, but then a few hundred bolts of lightning struck at the same time. Boom, boom, boom. Huichia and the others gasped as they witnessed the scene. Frightening. Extremely terrifying. Hundreds of lightning bolts rained down at once, sending chills down their spines. It was a majestic and terrifying scene. All of them felt that escaping would have been impossible if they were to stand near the dark clouds. Is this the true power of nature? The same question popped up in everyone's hearts. Wang Ting was also shocked. The lightning power was outrageously strong. He remembered the rumor. A heaven stage martial warrior executed some special battle technique and created such a unique sight. Still, it was a good thing. That lightning would have the power to release the mystic heaven lightning sword array's true potential, and he could happily collect some attribute bubbles. There would be many lightning element attributes for him to collect this time. Lightning was reflected in Wang Ting's pupils as he smiled in secret. The dark clouds in the sky covered at least a few thousand meters in radius, forming a majestic and grand scene when the bolts of lightning crashed down. Lightning gathered within the Angoro Grand Canyon, accumulating and forming a terrifying lightning land. None of the lightning power could be dispersed. Wang Ting felt that the time was ripe, so he flew into the sky and shouted, "Everyone, it's time to witness the miracle." Everyone was excited. They looked at Wang Ting simultaneously. Then, they witnessed how their leader dashed into the lightning storm. Human. Torb noticed Wang Ting's presence in the 13th front line. He stood up and furrowed his brow. He didn't know what the human wanted to do, but he definitely wasn't seeking death by charging into the lightning. "Sir, shall we strike him down?" a vampire approached and asked. "I'll personally go there," Torb said in a cold voice. Boom. The instant he finished speaking, he tapped the ground with his feet and leaped into the sky, cracking the ground with the exerted strength. Wang Ting noticed the dark apparition flying towards him. His gaze turned sharp and he sneered. "You're looking for death. Die." Torb bent his fingers. A blood-red glow was condensed around his hand, forming a sharp claw, then tried clawing at Wang Ting. The latter stopped abruptly, then stared at the sharp claw with a smirk. A calm voice emerged from his throat. "Mystic Heaven Lightning Sword Array, activate." Boom. Light blossomed around him, a gigantic purple array appearing out of nowhere amid the lightning strikes. Countless lightning bolts turned into sword glows and hovered around Wang Ting. An invisible killing intent was sweeping through the air. The blood-red claw was destroyed by a lightning sword before it could get any closer to Wang Ting. "Oh my God!" Torb squinted. He experienced a sense of danger and his expression changed tremendously, and was overcome by bewilderment. Chapter 1268 Blood Crow Ghastly Scale Shield. Dark clouds enveloped the earth. Lightning flashed violently and thunder roared. A round purple array gradually revealed itself amid the lightning. It was humongous. The area covered exceeded the dark clouds in the sky. A terrifying constellation lightning force swarmed over and circled within the array, flowing through all its corners and spinning furiously, forming a tornado in the process. Ring. The ringing of a metal was heard. Lightning gathered into long swords of different sizes, giving off purple sparks and a chilling sword aura. Killing intent filled up the whole array. Torb was appalled. He found this unbelievable. He only knew that the humans wanted to do something, so he went there personally to prevent them from doing anything threatening. The vampire knew that the human leader was just a celestial stage martial warrior. Killing him would be a simple task. However, reality slapped him hard. Who would have thought that his opponent would covertly make such a powerful array? He even trembled when he saw the array working. It was a deadly threat. It felt just like when he faced a superior apparition. The invisible chill made his blood run cold. Bastard. When did he make the array? Why didn't they notice it? Are my people blind? Their opponent created that powerful array right at their doorstep, but no one noticed a thing. Torb's face turned black. He felt like murdering his men. However, it wasn't the time to think about this. The array was the pressing matter. Some distance away, Huichia and the others finally saw the array's true appearance, and were awestruck. No words could express their current emotions. It was so powerful. So this is what a 5th rank Grandmaster level array looks like. Everyone finally understood the magnitude of such high-tiered arrays. Honestly, those powerful arrays were rare, and it was normal for them to not have seen one before. No wonder Grandmasters have such a high status. One array was enough to affect the result of a battle. Unfortunately, there were very few of them. Not all troops had one. The Tiger Strike Force was extremely lucky to have one in their team. All the martial warriors in the Tiger Strike Force were flabbergasted. They gasped in shock as they stared at the array hovering in the sky. Terrifying. No wonder they held fast for lightning to get there. There was no need to be afraid of the dark apparitions with the leverage of the array. Prior to this, many thought that Wang Ting was afraid and wouldn't dare to attack. They felt ashamed now, finally understanding their leader's plan. They wished they could bury themselves in a hole. Wang Ting was many levels above them. Pitman and the other rune masters were also looking at the mystic heaven lightning sword array in the sky. Their gazes were intense, with hearts filled with excitement. That was the 5th rank Grandmaster level array they had created together. Their contributions were minimal, but they still had a strong feeling of accomplishment. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, this would probably be the sole opportunity for many of them to partake in the creation of an array at the Grandmaster level. Most of them would stagnate eventually, never reaching that level, no matter how hard they tried. That was the brutal truth. However, Wang Ting had given them the chance to be part of the making. It would be something worth boasting for the rest of their lives. The sense of achievement felt stronger after witnessing the array's frightening power firsthand. They weren't the only ones who felt astounded. Even the dark apparitions who overtook the 13th frontline were stunned. Then, a huge commotion ensued. Fear was spreading. All the dark apparitions were afraid. They stared in shock at the frightening array above them. Could anyone tell us why there's a terrifying array above us? Should we run? No. If we run away now, Sir Torb would kill us first. The cowering apparitions remembered how brutal their superior was. They forcefully suppressed their urge to escape. Torb was glaring at Wang Ting right then. The constellation dark force within him surged out frantically to resist the lightning power outside. Thousands of lightning swords were continuously radiating a sharp sword aura. The leading vampire felt that he was sitting on a bed of needles. Torb asked, "Human, who are you?" From Defense Planet number 29, commander of the Tiger Strike Force. Wang Ting. Wang Ting floated amongst the lightning and replied calmly to the vampire apparition before him. He recognized the creature. It was the one who had defeated the previous commander of the 13 frontline, conquering their base. That vampire dark apparition gave him a different feeling, with an aura exceeding any of the normal vampire kind. His nobility was innate, just like nobles in human society. They were superior, and looked down on everything and everyone. He also gave off an extremely pure dark aura. Other vampire auras seemed murky in comparison. They seemed to be entirely different forces. You want to recapture the 13th frontline? Torb scoffed. Do you have a problem with that? Wang Ting asked calmly. Torb glanced at Wang Ting contemptuously and replied, "You won't be able to get it back while I'm around." He wanted to stall for time so he could observe the array and find a weakness. But Wang Ting didn't give him the chance. "Are you done?" asked Wang Ting, tilting his head. Torb frowned. The human's indifference sparked his anger for some reason. He felt humiliated. He was a celebrated noble among vampires, an owner of the purest blood with high status. How could this human offend me? If you're done, you can go back to your Darkland. Wang Ting remained composed and raised his hand forcefully. Then, he pointed at Torb. Ring. A crisp sound was heard all of a sudden, accompanied by thunderous roars. The gathered constellation lightning force started to become restless, tossing and turning violently within the array. Sharp blade marks cut through the air, forming clear lines in the sky. Boom! Thousands of lightning swords flew in Torb's direction, lightning sparks crackling around them and leaving a trail of light as they plummeted toward the dark apparition below like torrential rain. Damn it! Torb's pupils turned into pinpoints. He acted with determination, immediately raising his arms as if holding up the sky. Blood Crow ghastly scale shield. Crow's calls were heard after his angry howl. A dark red light shone around the noble, turning into a murder of blood crows. They gathered around his hand, forming a hideous and savage-looking red shield. Chapter 1269 Blood Crow Clone, Lightning Purgatory. 1. Boom. Lightning swords came crashing down the moment Torb was condensing a blood-colored shield, engulfing it. The lightning swords weren't only rushing towards the vampire leader, it was also aimed at the dark apparitions below. The dark apparitions had no idea that Wang Teng could attack them while facing Torb. The lightning sword was extremely fast, immediately flashing in front of their heads in just a short period of time. It was already too late when they realized what was happening, and could only watch as the lightning swords grew in size. No. Countless creatures roared unwillingly and channeled their dark force out of their bodies in a bid to resist the falling lightning swords. However, most of them were unable to withstand the incoming rush of power. Their defenses were broken by the lightning swords directly, nailing their bodies to the ground. Endless screams could be heard. Sword aura erupted from the lightning swords and tore apart their bodies, destroying all the dark constellation force within. Arm-wide cracks appeared on the ground, formed by the falling swords. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions echoed continuously in the sky. It was a magnificent scene. Over in the distance, all the Tiger Strike Force members kept their eyes peeled, astonished by the sight. Too powerful. The dark apparitions had no power to resist the array. There was a lapse of joy in everyone's hearts. If this went on, the majority of their enemies would be wiped out without having to take action. Victory was basically a cinch. At this moment, a roar came from the sky. Roar. Torb's blood-colored shield was already up, but the lightning sword bombardment had pushed it back 100 meters. The noble was in a difficult position. Meanwhile, Wang Ting was staring at the shield in amazement. That shield is good. It was actually able to block attacks from the Mystic Heaven Lightning Sword array. Human, you are courting death. Rage swelled up in Torb, feeling utter humiliation. He glared at the human leader with eyes full of killing intent. Wang Ting hooked his fingers at him and shouted loudly, "Come and kill me." Boom. Torb's handsome face became ferocious and twisted in an instant. A pair of massive wings grew on his back. He suddenly disappeared from where he stood with a single wing flap. This is a little interesting. Surprise flashed in Wang Teng's eyes. He moved towards the void and shot a sword flow with condensed lightning. Clang. Torb reappeared and looked grim, holding a dark red sword to block Wang Teng's attack. His movements were predicted. Die. A bright sword glow erupted from Torb's sword and an evil sword aura flew out, smashing the lightning sword into pieces. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Wang Teng's eyes flickered as he controlled the array, continuously forming lightning swords to bombard the vampire. There were too many lightning swords. Torb was too tired to deal with them and he was completely unable to approach the human. Swoosh. Suddenly, he couldn't dodge in time and a lightning sword left a gash on one of his arms, blood splattering. Torb's expression was getting worse as he looked at the wound. There was lightning force around it, which tried to infiltrate his body. Lightning force had a strong restraining effect on dark apparitions. He deeply felt the impact. Come again. Wang Teng didn't give him time to breathe as he kept swarming the vampire with lightning swords. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Streaks of purple sword glow continued to flash across Torb's body, leaving their mark. The damaged places were scorched black. It was the unique effect caused by being exposed to lightning. Over in the distance, Huichia and the others were in disbelief as they paid attention to the battle. Feng Gang swallowed his saliva and asked, "Is that really the dark apparition that defeated General Lu Gaoge?" "I think so." Wei Tong was uncertain. The contrast was so stark that they couldn't believe it. General Lu Gaoge was a heaven stage martial warrior. Him being defeated was an indication of the vampire's frightening power. But now, he was helpless against Wang Ting's attacks. The latter was indeed relying on the erase power, but that was also one of his moves. They could see how mighty their leader was. I don't know if the commander can defeat this dark apparition, Deputy Gyra said. It's hard to say. The vampire is in a tough spot right now, but it's not gravely injured. Those are just shallow wounds. The guy is looking for a chance to counterattack. Hu Qia shook his head. Everyone's expression became solemn upon realizing the fact. When do we make a move? Marley asked after a while. Wait for the commander's orders. It's not time yet, Hu Qia replied. Boom. Thunder resounded in the sky, but it couldn't drown out a louder sound. A figure was blasted back again by the lightning, Torb. He was panting heavily and wanted to vomit blood. He kept scanning the enemy, wanting to find Wang Teng's flaws. Come on, try harder. Maybe you can get close to me. Wang Teng beckoned with hand again. Torb trembled with rage, clearly infuriated. This human is too despicable. I really want to hack him to death. Boom. A cold light flickered in his eyes as he took a deep breath. A powerful aura then surged from his body. He couldn't wait a moment longer. Chapter 1270 Bloodcrow Clone, Lightning Purgatory. 2. I have to kill this loathsome human. Endless dark red light appeared out of nowhere and swarmed towards the long sword in his hand, forming a blade-like glow a few hundred meters in length. The giant image of a blood crow appeared behind the sword glow. It stared intently at Wang Ting with its crimson eyes, then spread its wings and gave an agonizing and shrill cry. Wang Ting started to feel dizzy because of the bird call. His spirit seemed to be stimulated by it. Wang Ting snorted. The 9 treasures pagoda in his mind space shone brightly and repelled the evil spiritual fluctuations. Then, he raised a finger. Numerous lightning swords flew towards him and formed a humongous sword glow behind him. The sword glow was enormous. Its tip pointed straight at the sky, to stab the thick dark clouds. Lightning flashed around it like dragons circling the sword. Torb squinted when he saw this. However, there was no turning back. There was nowhere he could hide since he was within the array. The only choice was to take the attack head-on. He gritted his teeth. Red light shot out from his body and rushed towards his long sword. The dark red light around the sword turned even more terrifying. Roar! He bellowed in anger once he couldn't take the pressure anymore, and swung the sword down violently to attack the human. Have a taste of my giant sword. Wang Ting didn't look down on the attack. He lifted his finger and the purple sword glow behind him was shot. There were 100 lightning swords condensed in the attack, making it a few hundred times more powerful. Boom! The 2 sword glows collided in mid-air. Frightening force fluctuations swept through the sky. Explosions rang and all noises were drowned out. Everyone had a temporary hearing loss. The earth seemed to have turned silent. The red and purple sword glows crashed and corroded the other. Frightening sword auras erupted continuously. They were at a standstill. Everyone stared at the scene in a daze with mouths agape, having forgotten to close them. Hu Qia and the other deputy regimental commander stared at the center of the collision intently. They were equally astounded and worried. Can our commander defeat the dark apparition? After some time passed, crack, the clear sound of something breaking was heard. Everyone stared at the point of collision with wide eyes. Cracks appeared on both sword glows and they were spreading at an extremely fast speed. Lines covered both weapons instantly. Boom. The next moment, the 2 sword glows shattered, turning into droplets of light that rained down. An oppressive residual force was gushed out. A bottomless sword mark was carved on the ground. Dust flew everywhere, blocking all view. Everyone stared into the dust, wanting to ascertain the situation. The dark apparitions below were also trying to peer into the dust. Those creatures were afraid of death. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, especially the high-ranked kind. If Torb won, they would have a chance to survive. If he lost, based on the array's power, they would be unable to escape. The dust had yet to scatter. Suddenly, Someone dashed out. "It's the vampire apparition," many exclaimed. Huichia's face turned pale. "Did our commander lose?" "Trying to run," said a stern voice from somewhere inside the dust cloud. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Multiple lightning swords soared from within the dust simultaneously and chased after Torb. Sir Torb, the dark apparitions below shouted anxiously, being worried for their leader. The latter detected motion behind him, so he turned to look. His expression changed to show astonishment. "Let's see if you can block this attack." Wang Teng was half hidden by the dust. He pointed at Torb and the lightning swords increased their speed. Boom. They traveled the final distance, appearing a few meters behind the vampire. Roar. Torb gave an unwilling and angry roar. A thick blood-red glow burst out from his body. Boom. The next instant, the lightning swords pierced through his body. Numerous sword lights shot over from all directions, tearing the blood-red glow with their sharp blades and drilling numerous holes in him. Huichia and the others were bewildered by the scene. Dead. They couldn't believe their eyes. The powerful dark apparition is dead already? The death was too sudden. It felt unreal. However, Wang Teng didn't smile. Instead, he frowned and fixed his gaze on the blood-red glow. The blood-like luminescence had been cut, but it didn't disappear. Instead, it flew away into the distance, as if it was alive. Caw, caw. Crow calls sounded and the blood-red light transformed into a murder of blood crows. Torb's body appeared again. His face was pale as usual, and there were no wounds on his body. The sword injuries had disappeared, no one could tell if he was seriously injured. "He's not dead." Huichia and the others were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. Wang Teng was equally startled. F***K. What kind of strange battle technique is that? His entire body had just burst from an explosion, but he actually turned into a bunch of blood crows and reconstructed himself again. Report. This dark apparition is a bug. Chapter 1271 Blood Crow Clone, Lightning Purgatory. 3. Human, you forced me to use my blood crow clone. Damn it. Torb squeezed the words through clenched teeth. His tone was malicious, but he seemed to have weakened considerably. The blood crow clone required much of his energy and spirit. Once exhausted, he would need to consume countless living souls and cultivate for who knows how long to recover completely. Blood crow clone, Wang Teng mumbled. His gaze turned sharp. Seems to be an amazing battle technique. But it feels strange somehow. Wait, aren't you a vampire? Why is that a blood crow and not a bat? Wang Teng couldn't keep his curiosity in. Torb. F***K. Who are you calling a bat? He was a noble of the blood tribe, and had nothing to do with bats. Huichia and the others were equally gobsmacked. Their commander's focus was a little slanted. Can you stop asking such strange questions at crucial moments? Wang Ting touched his chin and wondered aloud, are you a mix of blood crow and bat? Huichia and the others felt their lips twitch. Mixed blood? Can two different species be mixed? What kind of idea is that? Crack. Torb almost cracked his teeth due to anger. His face turned black and veins popped out on his forehead. He glared at Wang Teng as if he wanted to etch his face deep in his heart but remained quiet. Then, he suddenly flew in another direction. F***K. Are you trying to run? Wang Teng cursed involuntarily. You looked ferocious just now. Why are you running away? Why are you being such a coward? Wang Teng did some operations and moved the lightning swords in the array to force the vampire back. However, Torb executed his blood crow clone when he had already left the center of the array and was by the boundary. Thus, he managed to quickly dash out of the Mystic Heaven lightning sword array and escape from the Dark Apparition's territory. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. He abandoned the 13th front line. Wang Teng didn't know what to say. The guy escaped faster than a rabbit. His words had been vicious, but he didn't hesitate to run away. His actions were a complete mismatch to the Dark Apparition's image. Huichia and the others were stunned, too. Their opponent quickly ran off without turning back. No one managed to react in time. Something felt off. "Stop him!" Wang Teng shouted right after. He couldn't leave the array, so he had to ask his subordinates to act. The 5 deputy regimental commanders regained their senses and attacked at the same time. 5 force attacks were shot to hit Torb from 5 different directions. "Go away!" Torb was furious. He slashed down with his long sword. The deputies weren't weak. They managed to stop the vampire with their joint effort. A fight ensued. Wang Ting heaved a sigh of relief. Letting the dark apparition escape would have been a great loss. He turned and looked down, eyes becoming sharp. The lightning power had yet to disperse. It would be useful to deal with the remaining apparitions below. The creatures were stranded in the 13th front line because of his lightning swords. They would have run otherwise. It was time to deal with them once and for all. Boom! The array movements sped up as Wang Ting activated all the lightning force power. The constellation lightning force turned into a massive and violent tornado. The dark clouds in the sky started spinning. Lightning power struck down. The array gathered the power and formed lightning swords filling up the sky. It was a terrifying sight. That was the final attack. The move would gather all the lightning power. Wang Ting bathed in flashes of lightning like the god of lightning himself. A thick purple glow shimmered in his eyes. Then, he waved his hand down and the countless lightning swords plummeted down. The entire 13th front line turned into a lightning sword hell. Chapter 1272. The bitterness of poverty. Lightning descended and turned into thousands of lightning swords rushing down. All the lightning force seemed to have been completely drained, turning into the sword in Wang Teng's hand. Tens of thousands of dark apparitions were slaughtered with this weapon. Countless dark apparitions wailed in fear. They were either nailed to the ground or split in two. Their heads and hearts were shattered, leaving no chance to survive. Torb saw everything happen from a distance and paled even more. What a terrifying blow. Had he been a bit slower to escape just then, he would have been hit by that. What in the world is this human? An ordinary martial warrior would have never had the means to harness such horrifying power. Such a genius couldn't be left alive. He had to be eradicated as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would definitely become a serious problem for the dark apparitions. Torb's eyes kept flickering. A fierce light flashed in his eyes as he stared at the 5 people stalling him while the sword he held glowed brightly. He had to get away from them as soon as possible and leave that place. Ordinary apparitions dying there would be inconsequential. But not for him. Boom! A murderous aura gushed out of Torb's body, seemingly using some secret technique to forcibly raise his strength. He became extremely fierce as he rushed to break the encirclement kept by Huoqiao and the others. "Be careful." Huoqiao and the others' expressions changed. None of them dared to be negligent. They executed their strongest battle techniques. Huoqiao used his savage elephant form and stomped in the air. Wei Tong also used a physical battle technique. His body was like steel, even making metallic sounds when hit. Gyra was a wood element martial warrior. Her constellation wood force turned into vines and caged Torb as she tried to wrap his body. Foam Gang's blade sent out a fierce golden blade glow and a powerful blade ultima erupted, which filled the sky with blade luminescence. Marlis' movements were strange and fast as he circled around Torb, stabbing him with a short sword from time to time. It was impossible to guard against this. The strength of the 5 deputy commanders wasn't for show. Everyone had their unique techniques and were powerful in their own right. Underestimating them would mean death. Wang Ting stood within the rune array and breathed a sigh of relief. The dark clouds in the sky were already on the verge of collapse, and the lightning force was about to be depleted. The last blow he dealt had drained all of the lightning, otherwise, he would have lasted longer. It was no longer necessary, though. Wang Teng's aim was to deal a decisive blow. He didn't have time to whittle them down. After a while, the dark clouds finally collapsed and dissipated. The Mystic Heaven Lightning Sword Array was finally unable to hold it in anymore and collapsed, turning into countless light spots before it vanished. It had fulfilled its purpose. Many powerful dark apparitions had survived, some even wept with joy, thankful that they were still alive. But they couldn't stay happy for long. "Soldiers, kill them," said a cold voice coming from the sky. The Tiger Strike Force's martial warriors had already been waiting for a long time. All of them felt invigorated as they charged into the 13th front line. Kill, kill, kill. Frightening battle cries shook heaven and earth, as if wanting to overturn the sky. The dark apparitions at the front line looked flustered. They had suffered heavy injuries due to the lightning sword bombardment and were barely alive. How could they withstand the attacks of so many martial warriors? The dark apparitions had already lost their will to fight and moved to flee. "Don't let them escape, kill them." Every captain issued orders to their teams to attack in formations, surrounding and killing the dark creatures. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Wang Ting didn't pay attention to the battle below, he merely looked at the sky in the distance. A trace of battle intent appeared in his eyes. Boom! In an instant, he vanished from his spot. Torb, who was battling Huochia and the others, suddenly changed his expression. He threw a punch to his right, before he even had the time to think about it. Bang! There was a muffled sound. Torb's face looked horrified. He was thrown back for more than 10 meters. 100 meters was considered a short distance during battles between Cosmos stage martial warriors, let alone a mere dozen meters. However, Torb couldn't stay calm. He was fully aware of his own strength, not even Huochia and the others could knock him back. Still, the sudden attack was able to do it. The opponent's strength couldn't be underestimated. Torb stared at a point in space and saw a figure slowly stepping out. It was Wang Ting. "It's you." Torb was taken aback, his face looked dreadful. He initially thought that the human would only have a chance to force him into a corner using the array. For him to be so powerful without it was completely unexpected. This is not a celestial stage martial warrior. Even if he were a cosmos stage martial warrior, he wouldn't believe it. "Commander, Commander." Huochia and the others felt elated by Wang Teng's arrival. Wang Teng nodded and said without looking back, "Go and deal with the remaining dark apparitions." "Leave this to me." "Yes." Huochia and the others understood how powerful their leader was. They nodded and left without any hesitation. Kings fight kings, while generals fight generals. The remaining dark apparitions were powerful. There were even some low-tier devil emperors. If they didn't offer a hand, the celestial stage martial warriors would definitely be incapable of stopping them. Torb scoffed when he saw the deputy commanders leaving. "You're very confident, to actually dare face me alone when you're just a celestial stage martial warrior. It's not bad. I think I'm a little confident in dealing with a Crobat hybrid like you," Wang Teng replied calmly. "Bastard." Torb was extremely infuriated. This human's tongue is too sharp. He was from a noble vampire race. He wasn't a blood crow, a bat, or a hybrid. Damn it. Seems like I got it right. I'm so smart. Wang Ting rubbed his chin as he sized up his opponent with great interest. He was intrigued about that vampire foe. The previous ones he had met only turned into bats, while that one could turn into a blood crow. It had to be from a different breed. Wang Teng used the Eyes of Essence. His pupils became dark, but they suddenly froze. His Eyes of Essence failed. He could only see a blurred dark red shadow, with some trace of purple. There wasn't a proper view, as if pixelated. Eyes of Essence had failed for the first time. He was unable to see what his opponent really was. This came as a true surprise for Wang Teng. Looks like it's time to improve the Eyes of Essence, Wang Teng thought. Despair overcame him when he looked at the blank spaces in his attributes board. There was nothing. Wang Teng suddenly remembered. He used up his blank attributes to improve his alchemy attributes when he was making the Shenyang soul restoring pills. Damn it. He looked up to the sky while his face was filled with the bitterness of poverty. Chapter 1273 Ancestor, Save Me. 1. Torb felt that the human foe's eyes looked weird for some reason. He felt extremely uncomfortable, as if stark naked. Wang Teng couldn't see Torb's bloodline essence with his Eyes of Essence, but he could see through his clothes. Fat. He wouldn't look at a vampire's body. He didn't have such a strange fetish. A pity he couldn't tell if the vampire was a blood crow or a bat. Wang Ting shook his head dejectedly. Torb's face turned black when he saw Wang Ting's expression. He couldn't control the anger burning in his heart. Roar! With an angry bellow, he disappeared on the spot and reappeared in front of the human. The long sword drew a crescent in the air as it slashed down to deal with him. Fart! Blood crow cawing was heard, aimed to affect Wang Teng's spirit. The sword glow followed. Unfortunately, the attack was ineffective to deal with Wang Teng. His 9 treasures pagoda shimmered and blocked the spiritual attack. A battle sword appeared in his hand. He instilled fire ultima onto the battle sword and a flaming glow was shot into the sky. Boom! Sword glows collided. The flaming sword glow couldn't withstand its opponent's attack and shattered. Wang Teng had used a 10th level ultima for his attack, but his opponent also had it. In comparison, Wang Teng's force was weaker, so he lost in that exchange. Is that all you have? Torb's expression became hideous, and instantly dashed towards the human. As expected, I can't defeat a stronger opponent with ultima. Wang Ting shook his head and wondered. In that case, I can only. Meteorite shower domain, activate. Boom. While retreating, a strange fluctuation was swept out from Wang Ting's body, turning into a unique domain. The sky disappeared and everything turned yellow. Large rocks floated in the air. Torb stopped himself abruptly, his expression changing. Domain. Welcome to my domain. Wang Teng appeared on top of a huge rock and looked at his opponent. No wonder you have the confidence to face me. Torb stared at Wang Ting with a calm expression. But you're deluding yourself if you think you can defeat me with one domain. I also have a domain. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Boom. A strange fluctuation emerged from his body, turning into a blood-red domain of his own, pushing Wang Teng's meteorite shower domain back and taking up half the area. He faced the human as an equal. The thick blood stench pervaded within the blood-red domain. An obvious evil aura was trying to invade the other's domain. I knew you had a domain. If not, you wouldn't be able to fight with a heaven stage martial warrior, Wang Teng replied calmly. You surprise me. You're at the celestial stage, but you managed to take your domain to the 3rd rank. Mine reached the 4th rank, but the difference in our force is vast. This is a fatal flaw. A blood crow gradually appeared below Torb. The avian creature stared at Wang Ting with cold and crimson pupils. Try me, Wang Teng replied calmly. He was right. There was a huge difference between their forces. Wang Teng possessed many forces, but he couldn't compare to a cosmos stage martial warrior. One's force would be several-fold mightier with every rise in rank. Furthermore, the difference between them wasn't small. His numerous forces only allowed him to shorten the gap. The only trump card at hand was his domain and his secret ultimate skills. Torb frowned. Where does this human get his confidence from? How can he remain calm when there's such a vast difference in strength? Let's see how much longer you can remain confident. Torb snorted. He was angered by Wang Teng's attitude. Having spoken enough, the vampire started releasing a red glow from his eyes. His domain became redder, empowered by the glow. Caw, caw. Countless blood crows called without warning. Numerous pairs of crimson eyes opened behind Torb. All of them were blood crows, filling the domain's area behind the vampire. No one would have noticed them if they hadn't opened their eyes. Wang Teng was reminded of the wicked eye domain. His head became numb due to seeing all those eyes. However, it wasn't a moment for distractions. The blood crows were part of his opponent's attacking method. Torb suddenly shouted, 3,000 blood crows. The blood crows shot out, turning into red beams as they charged towards Wang Teng. The smell of blood filling the air. Concurrently, Wang Ting felt an evil spiritual fluctuation swarming towards him. His expression changed a bit. That spiritual fluctuation was more powerful than the previous one. It was in a different league. Smash it! Wang Ting shouted in his heart. The 9 treasures pagoda shone brightly as it forcefully suppressed the evil spiritual fluctuations. Ha! Torb's expression changed, feeling that his spiritual attack had been blocked by some force and couldn't push further. Caw, caw. Wang Ting blocked the evil spiritual attack, but the sky full of crows kept on rushing towards him. Chapter 1274 Ancestor, Save Me. 2. Wang Ting's gaze sharpened as he quickly lifted a finger. The rocks around him boomed loudly and were hurled towards the blood crows. Boom. The next instant, both sides collided, causing a loud explosion. Force fluctuations swept through the surroundings. They couldn't spread outside the domains, so they went back and forth within those regions before they disappeared. Suddenly, Wang Ting squinted. The blood crow attack was exceptionally powerful. It shattered the giant rocks, flew past the fragments, and shot forth towards him. Human, you're dead now. Torb gave the other a mocking look. He sneered and said, You can't kill me. You overestimated yourself. Wang Ting looked at the fast-approaching blood crows while unmoving. Chimph, given up already? Let me have a taste of a human genius blood. It must be delicious. A red light flashed past Torb's eyes, while licking his lips involuntarily. He couldn't wait to see as the human was consumed by the sky of blood crows. You want to drink my blood? Wang Ting's gaze turned cold. Caw, caw. The blood crows were 100 meters away from Wang Ting, almost about to drown him. Torb started to get excited. Me. Wang Ting snorted. The blood crows stopped in midair as if a powerful force were pressing down on them. They couldn't move. Magnetic domain, activate. The two domains merged, releasing a terrifying force. Boom. The next instant, all the blood crows cawed in agony and exploded without warning, turning into blood mist. How's this possible? Torb was flabbergasted, unable to believe what he saw. What happened just now? This human had no power to resist. Where did that last burst of energy come from? Was he hiding his true power? Numerous thoughts went through his mind. Try my planetary devastation. Wang Ting didn't care how surprised the enemy was. That vampire wanted to drink his blood. It was unforgivable. Boom. A myriad of giant rocks were gathered, quickly forming a giant ball. Torb immediately pointed at the sky when he saw this. Blood crow, he screamed in anger. Red light was congregated, turning into a giant blood crow. It was impossible to see the edges of the creature's wings as they spread. It raised its head and gave a shrill caw. Wang Ting wouldn't let down his guard upon seeing such a powerful attack. He controlled his meteorite shower domain and the magnetic domain to gather all the giant rocks and make an enormous ball. The pressure given by the vampire was more powerful than that of any other Cosmos stage martial warrior. It was on par with the expected output of Heaven stage martial warriors. Fart. The gigantic blood crow was quickly formed. It flapped its wings and dashed towards Wang Ting, seemingly at the speed of light. Wang Ting reciprocated with a furious shout of his own, Go! The enormous rock formation plummeted down at an astonishing speed, leaving a yellow light trail like a meteorite. The surrounding space produced loud cracks from the pressure, sounding as if about to split. Fortunately, they were in Wang Ting's domain. The outside space would probably give out with that pressure. Boom. The two attacks collided in an instant, sweeping the domain's inner space with a terrifying force. One side was filled with blood aura while the other was full of yellow airwaves. Both were destructive, seemingly capable of destroying everything in their path. The other blood crows and giant rocks couldn't withstand the impact and shattered. Wang Ting allowed the rock to break. His hair danced wildly in the wind, but his expression didn't change. He stared intently at the center of the collision. Torb did the same thing. The blood crow had already turned into blood mist, but he kept a poker face while staring at the point of impact. The gigantic blood crow and the enormous rock were at a standstill. No one had gained the upper hand. Torb's expression turned ugly. He didn't expect a celestial stage martial warrior to be his equal. Wasn't his domain at the 3rd rank? How could it resist my 4th rank domain? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, this doesn't make any sense. Destroy it. Torb didn't want to wait anymore. He made a decision and controlled the blood crow to explode. Boom! A loud blast was heard. The blood crow turned into a ball of glaring red light and swallowed the giant round ball. A frightening shockwave swept over again. This time, the thick blood aura gushed towards Wang Ting directly, engulfing him. Ha ha ha. Torb burst out laughing when he saw this happen. You'll definitely die within my blood mist. Really? A calm voice floated out from mist, echoing close to the vampire's ears. Boom. Suddenly, a black golden glow exploded within the blood mist, pushing and scattering the latter. What? Torb widened his eyes in disbelief. Swoosh. At that moment, sharp black golden sword glows shot towards him. Domain. Another domain, said Torb with a shrill voice. He didn't expect the human to have yet another domain, one at the 4th rank, even. It was stronger than the previous one. What a sly human. He didn't use his stronger domain before. The guy only brought it out when I let my guard down. Never had I seen such a sly human. Boom. Torb didn't have the time to evade. He was pierced by the numerous black golden beams. Is he dead? Before Wang Ting could feel happy, he saw his opponent turn into a ball of red light and explode. The ball turned into a bunch of blood crows and flew away before reconstructing his body. This time, his face was paler and he looked weaker. He seemed drained. The vampire glared at Wang Ting with hatred and bitterness as if wanting to skin him alive. That was the second time. This human forced me to use my blood crow clone a second time. Damn it. He had wasted too much of his energy and spirit. It would greatly affect his future cultivation. Wang Ting widened his eyes and exclaimed helplessly, F***K, are you a cockroach? Why can't you die? Is this vampire able to turn into blood crows multiple times so it can't be killed? Idiot. You can't kill me. Torb replied with scorn and a flickering gaze. I don't believe you can use this method to stay alive all the time, said Wang Ting as he expanded his domain in an attempt to lock his opponent within. Torb's expression changed. He rushed to retreat, but his speed couldn't catch up with the speed of the domain expanding. Soon, he fell into Wang Ting's black metal domain. Let's see how many times you can use it. Wang Ting waved a hand and multiple black golden sword glows were shot towards the enemy. Torb was appalled. He slapped his chest and a drop of blood came out, which turned into a blood crow. Ancestor, save me, he shouted while trying to escape. The blood crow's eyes shimmered, then opened its beak and a blood-red beam emerged, destroying the black golden sword glows. Wang Ting's expression changed. That blood crow seemed to be extraordinary. What did Torb call it? Ancestor? WTF. That blood crow is his ancestor. Seriously, how shameless can you be? You can't win so you bring out your ancestor? The blood crow started speaking. Torb, you used the blood essence I left for you. It can talk. Wang Ting widened his eyes in surprise. Ancestor, I was left without a choice. I would have died if I didn't use the blood essence. Torb heaved a sigh of relief when he saw his ancestor helping him. His tone was bitter. HMPH, useless. The blood crow snorted. Yes, yes. Torb remained humble in front of the blood crow, just as a grandson would. Wait, he was the grandson of that blood crow. F***K, this isn't right. Wang Ting couldn't see through the blood crow, so he started to get serious. He wondered if running away would be the best option. Chapter 1275 TSK, You're old but stubborn. Wang Ting wondered if escaping was the better option. Meanwhile, the blood crow ancestor turned to look at him. The former immediately stopped moving, showing an unfazed expression. If the enemy didn't move, he wouldn't move. He couldn't falter at the moment. Once he showed any signs of weakness, the enemy would grab the chance and give him a knock in the head. The blood crow ancestor was manifested with a drop of blood essence. It might not have much power, so there shouldn't be much reason to be afraid. Death is not scary. Just do it. Many thoughts went through Wang Ting's mind. The blood crow ancestor sized up the human with interest. A shrill voice came out of its mouth. A genius of the human race. It won't be a waste of my blood essence if I manage to kill you. Old man, who are you to kill me with just a drop of blood essence? What are you thinking? Wang Ting snapped back with a black face. Torb looked at him in shock. This fellow is quite bold. How dare he scold the ancestor? He's doomed. He's definitely a dead man now. He had said that many times in his heart, but it was fine. He was sure that the human would have no chance to escape from his ancestor's attack. A smirk appeared on his face. It's been a while since someone spoke to me like this. The Blood Crow ancestor wasn't angered by the response. Instead, he laughed in a sarcastic and high-pitched tone. It felt uncomfortable just listening to it. I can say it a few more times if you want, Wang Tang replied. The Blood Crow ancestor. Torb. This human's mind isn't working properly. Anyway, old man, are you truly a crow? Wang Tang asked curiously. Impudent. Torb roared in anger. I've already said that I'm not a crow. Why does he have to bring it up again? He even asked in front of the ancestor. Is he tired of living? He wished the human could die faster. What if his ancestor thought he didn't explain properly and vented his frustration on him later? He would suffer a terrible death. Ha ha ha. The Blood Crow ancestor suddenly laughed in a sinister manner. I admire your courage. I've decided that I will personally have a taste of your blood later. Wang Ting touched his chin and tried to fan the flames. What kind of fetish is that? That vampire wanted to taste my blood and now, you want to have some too. Am I the longevity monk? But, there's only one me. It's not enough for the two of you. Why don't you all have a fight first? Is there something wrong with these vampire apparitions? Why are human talents being graded by how delicious they are? Torb. F***K, this human is making trouble for me. The Blood Crow ancestor was also rendered speechless. The situation made him feel he was being a bad elder, snatching things from his descendant. The other elders in the family would laugh at him if they learned of this. What a sharp tongue. The Blood Crow ancestor sneered. No other words were said as he turned into a beam of red light and disappeared. Fast. Wang Teng was shocked. He showed a stern look. Swoosh. A red beam appeared before him just then, stabbing his body before he could react. Torb's expression contorted with exhilaration. This human is finally dead. The guy had tormented him terribly, but he finally had his revenge. It was worth the drop of blood essence his ancestor had given him. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. The ancestor reappeared behind Wang Teng's after his attack, then frowned all of a sudden. He turned back to flash an astonished look at the human's body. No blood had splashed out from the giant hole made. Instead, the figure was disintegrating. This is just a shadow. When? A few hundred meters away, space became slightly distorted and a figure stepped out. Oh my god, that was dangerous. I almost died. Wang Teng patted his chest and appeared relieved. What? Torb widened his eyes in disbelief. This human managed to evade the attack of my ancestor. Just now. The elder Blood Crow stared at Wang Ting and said two words, space talent. Torb was appalled. It was just a guess at the start, but his forefather ascertained it personally. This human possesses the rare space talent. But, he didn't use this talent when we fought. Was he looking down on me? Torb felt offended. An unprecedented sense of humiliation surged in his heart. He wished he could rush over and fight it out with the human. He was the talent of the vampire race, yet the human looked down on him. What space talent? I don't know what you're saying. Wang Teng denied it. His face was giving them a you must have seen wrong expression. The Blood Crow ancestor. Does he think him blind? Why would a crow, I mean, a formidable vampire like me, not notice the obvious space fluctuation? Even Torb felt his face muscles twitching. He forgot the humiliation he felt and just wanted to complain. Even if you have space talent, you can't escape from my grasp. The Blood Crow ancestor glared at Wang Ting with a sharp gaze and disappeared once again. Swoosh. The elder turned into a beam of red light and pierced Wang Ting's body again. Once again, The latter appeared in the distance, only his shadow remained. You can't catch me, you can't catch me. Wang Ting's mind spun furiously as he tried to come up with a plan. However, he kept on putting an irritating act on the surface. This human is getting on my nerves. Torb was then rendered speechless. His ancestor remained silent. A cold glint flashed past his eyes while turning his body around and forming a crescent in the sky, then flying towards the human again. Wang Teng's space physique was at the 3rd rank and he had the space flash technique specially made for dodging. That is why he could even handle the Blood Crow ancestor's extreme speed with ease. Well, the opponent emerged from a drop of blood essence, so he wasn't able to release much of his original power. Finally, the Blood Crow had the last straw, only catching a lingering shadow every time he was about to catch the taunt. The elder felt as if he were trying to snatch a slippery eel. This made him feel frustrated and unhappy. It was also a bit embarrassing. After all, he did say to his descendant that he could easily kill Wang Teng. And yet, a long time passed and he had yet to succeed. He started feeling that Torb's gaze was becoming a little strange. Seriously, why don't we just end it here? No one's getting the upper hand. There's no need to waste time over this, said Wang Teng to the elder after evading another attack and appearing somewhere in the distance. I must kill you. No one can humiliate me, the Blood Crow ancestor said angrily. Humph, you're a stubborn old man. Wang Ting shook his head helplessly. He turned to look at Torb and said, Aren't you going to persuade your ancestor? An old man shouldn't strain himself. Old man? Torb was confused. His neck turned with a rigid motion to look at his ancestor. You're looking for death. The Blood Crow ancestor had a mental breakdown even after many years of self-cultivation. Chapter 1276 Blood Crow Ancestor, Bastard. 1. He was the ancestor of the Blood Crow race, but the human dared to call him an old man. How could he not be angry? Red light exploded from the ancestor's body. A terrifying bloody aura was spread out. This is bad. Torb's expression changed. He retreated quickly, looking astonished. This human managed to anger the ancestor to this degree. He's dead. Definitely dead. Wang Teng's expression changed a bit as he felt a scary aura coming from the red glow. This old fellow is risking it all to kill me. He felt helpless. Wang Teng had said those things to divert their attention so he could stall for time. Executing his space flash required a lot of energy, so he couldn't use it indefinitely. Who knew that the ancestor would be so narrow-minded? He was a senior, yet he couldn't stomach the teasing. I have no choice. I have to receive the attack head-on. Wang Teng didn't know what else to do. He could tell it was going to be a large-scale attack, so he wasn't sure he could evade it. Boom. The Blood Crow disappeared, then turned into a patch of red light exuding a bloody stench. Explosions were heard from within, a terrifying energy seemed to be gathering. Wang Ting immediately stretched his arms and activated his space power. Puff! An invisible wind blew in the emptiness, circling around him and soon becoming a tornado. Boom! Pitch-black dimensional rifts started appearing around him as the nearby space trembled. Both domains started collapsing, as they were unable to withstand the frightening space power. Crack! Something broke. The domain started to break down. Everyone could see the outer skies again. What a powerful space fluctuation. Torb gritted his teeth, as he could only admit it. This human talent was more powerful than I thought. For the first time, he felt inferior. But, so what if he's powerful? He would be killed by his ancestor in the end. Torb's expression became contorted. He looked forward to witnessing how the human died by the hands of his ancestor. The battle taking place in the front line below had reached an end. Hu Chia and the others looked up and were astounded by the situation above. What's happening? Why is there such a terrifying fluctuation? Is it from the vampire? The 5 human subleaders were worried, not expecting the battle to reach that stage. Terrifying energies were being spread by both parties in the sky. One was blood red, filled with the stench of blood. They could even smell it at ground level. That was the vampire's attack. However, based on their briefing, it was only a low-tier Devil Emperor. How could he launch that scary attack? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, the other side was giving off a strong space fluctuation. An invisible force was swept out, which couldn't be underestimated. That was Wang Ting's attack. A space battle technique. Many had seen him use the same attack at the third frontline when he killed the mid-tier Devil Emperor. Hu Qia and the others had seen it in a video recording, so they recognized it. They could only pray for their boss' success in defeating his opponent. Boom! The space tornado surrounding Wang Ting began to spin with increasing violence, forming a sizable vortex. Our hero disappeared into the center of the tornado. The phenomenon continued to expand, mincing up the space around it. A powerful suction force came from within. Dust, rocks, and trees below were sucked up and flew to the sky, drawn by the pull. All of it was sliced into bits and pieces instantly. Even clouds were affected. They were also sucked in. Just then, the confronting red light shot into the sky and formed a sickle-shaped blood glow. "Die!" cried a shrill voice from within. Boom! The glowing sickle blade slashed down. Wang Ting acted immediately, pushing his space tornado when he saw the other move. The massive vortex rushed to collide with the blood glow. An earth-shattering explosion resounded in the air. Airwaves were swept out in all directions. Everything was hurled away by the impact. Even Torb was thrown back by the powerful clash. His surprised face became slightly paler. Hiss, hiss, hiss. There were bloody wounds on his face and other parts of his body. Red blood seeped out. There was a tinge of space power within the force. It was extremely sharp, enough to cut through his tough body. However, it was only a light injury. It didn't hurt his foundation. Torb frowned, and quickly retreated to a safer distance. He stared intently at the point of collision. That was the moment to decide the winner. Boom! The blood sickle chopped through the tornado, attempting to cut it in half. Wang Ting looked grim. He used all his energy to control his space power and accelerate the spinning of his space tornado to resist the powerful blood sickle. Too powerful. The blood glow was more powerful than expected. No one had ever used brute force to cut through his space tornado since he created that move. However, the Blood Crow ancestor did it. What's more, he was but a drop of blood essence. If the real Elder was there, he wouldn't be able to block a single finger. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.